Hai guys, gimana kabar kalian? Kembali lagi dengan Bento di sini. Yap, hari ini kita bakal nontonin Worlds. Ya, kita lihat siapa yang akan lolos ke apa ya? Sekarang Swiss round ya. Besok ke top 32 sih kayaknya. Kira-kira yang dari Indo bakal menang nggak? Ayo. Kira-kira yang dari Indo bakal menang nggak? Ayo. Kira-kira yang dari Indo bakal menang nggak? Ayo. Di sini biar nggak kena copyright, aku coba pakai laguku sendiri ya sebentar. Masuk nggak suaranya? Aku lagi suka lagu ini nih. Oke. Hai guys, hai guys, hai guys. Ini kita nunggu player Indonesia keluar nih. Masih gini-gini doang nih dari tadi nih. Startnya jam berapa aku ini? Harusnya ini sudah start sih. Oh, 7 menit lagi tuh. 7 menit. Dari kamu yang menang siapa kok dan kamu dukung region mana? Ya semoga bisa Green Slimy yang menang ya. Suaranya kegedean ya. Bentar. Kecilin dulu. Tujuh menit lagi guys. Sabar, sabar. Tujuh menit lagi. Aku mau ngedit ini dulu. Dan di situ aja ya. Oke, dan waduh, Kufi ini emang nggak bisa absen dari Worlds ya. Kufi, emangnya kemarin ada ya? Aku pakai lagunya beda ya, karena biar nggak kena copyright guys. Majin B. Majin B masuk lagi ya. Serapin. NC, new favorite card. Elder Dragon. Aksan Infinite. Mawur. Monty. Serapin, banyak banget ya Serapin ya. Ya, aku favorit cardku kayak Mordekaiser deh. Mordekaiser bagus sih. Tapi kalau unit biasa sih Cloud Dragon ya. Iya, Dulski Snowdog. Montargon. Newman. Lisin Aksan. Favorit champion ada 4 pak. Kalau gue the one and only Elder Dragon, mantap. Malam Bento, malam gak pras. Kalau aku ditanya ya, favorit deck of all time, Anivia dong, jelas. Favorit champion, favorit champion gue Heimerdinger. Ya sampai sekarang Heimerdinger sih kayaknya. Favorit region, tentu saja Demacia. New favorite card, bisa dibilang Cloud Dragon, tapi kayaknya Mordekaiser sih lebih mantep. Malam Bento, malam Gapras. PV8. Mana Green Slime? Munculin dong, aku pengen tahu nih. Tak screenshot kalau ada nih. Runeterra, masuk, pakai poin Runeterra, mantap. Heart of the Hunter's Point. Favorite deck Targon pick, favorite champion Braum Assault, favorite region Targon, oke. Kayaknya mungkin kalau live bisa dilihat kali ya. Atau mungkin dia belum main, di delay sama dia, bisa jadi. Silver Aksan bagus juga sih. Kopi Demacia, oke. Tristana, wow. Favorite region install dan void gak ada di lore, woi. Gila lu ya. Deck kasino tuh yang mana sih? 15 FPS anjir. Karma Maokai. Swain, PNZ. Heiso juga bagus sih. Teng. Lu itu logo TF sama slot bot. Emang ada yang bagus ya decknya itu ya? Yang kasino ya? ABG Ame. Baru ABG dia. ABG Belkut. KDF reroll masuk gak ya? Mana Green Slimy? Aikido, oke. Aikado, Aikido. Teng tus. Masuk kok. Ada si reroll tadi udah lewat, oh ya. Aku tiga kali nge-cast dia 2 kali juara 1 kali juara 2. Yang keempat dia nggak masuk sih ya. Tiga, 2, 1, 0. Jeng. Kena copyright gak ini ya? Bentar, kita pause dulu.
Good morning. Welcome to the Legends of Runeterra World Championships.
Oh, ada
We are
Alanskill.
so
Oke.
excited to be here to celebrate
Alanskill gak
some
main
of the
ya berarti ya?
best players in Legends of Runeterra, and I've got the best voices beside me to do just that. To kick things off, we've got Spids and Alan. Spids, welcome to the broadcast. How are you?
Jagoanku Green Slimy sama KDF reroll
I'm
ya.
so excited to watch these players play in Worlds. We've been watching them for the past like 11 Riot tournaments, and they're finally coming together to finally show who's the best. I'm so
Halo
excited
Bang
to
Ben,
see.
sehat? Puji Tuhan sehat.
Hey Necra, hey Speeds, welcome everybody in front of their screens. We're here for a big treat. It's Worlds 2023. with the top 64 players.
Gila ya, Worlds aja
And
masih
those
online loh.
games will be hot.
Emang lor anak tiri ya.
They are going to be red
Udah
hot.
puas
We've
dia
got
juara
3
World
days of
pertama.
action that we're going to be bringing you for this weekend. We also, of course, have Boulevard and Skarzik that are going to be joining us to be able to talk through all of the action. But 3 days? What the heck?
Anas
This
kayaknya
means
player
we've got a
jago
brand
tapi
new
nggak mau
format
mencoba
and a
untuk
brand
main.
new
Saya
way to
banget
celebrate
otaknya
Legends of
skill.
Runeterra.
Lah,
So let's check out this
kok
video
bisa
to
nggak
see
mau
what's in
mencoba untuk
store
main?
for this weekend.
Udah nggak main lagi dia.
The Legends of Runeterra World Championship is back with a brand new format. Here's everything you need to know about the exciting 3-day event. Worlds 2023 is expanding to include
3D.
a total of 64 players across all 3 shards: APAC, EMEA, and the Americas. Each shard will be sending 21
Semoga
players
nggak
to
kena
the
copyright
championship,
ya.
where they'll join last year's world champion Aragorn in a 2-stage tournament. All players will receive exclusive early access to the upcoming expansion, Fate's Voyage Beyond, to prepare. The World Championship will be played in a best-of-3 pick-and-ban format. All players will submit 3 decks to play for the entire tournament. For each match,
Tapi kasihan juga ya, mereka sudah dikasih early access, tapi Heiso-nya di nerf di detik-detik terakhir ya. Itu agak percuma. Wow, udah Nobar higher heal.
On December 14th,
Betul, naratornya
the
Snui ya.
tournament commences with a 7-round Swiss stage.
Oh iya bener
During this
juga suaranya
phase,
Snui.
players will start with a match against a random opponent. Following the first round, players will only be matched against opponents with the same record as them. This will continue for a total of 7 rounds and end with the top 16 players advancing to the
Oh
bracket
cuma
stage.
top 16.
Those 16 players will then be drawn into a best-of-3 double elimination bracket, culminating in the grand final on December 16th, where the new 2023 World Champion will be crowned and given the opportunity to become an architect of legends.
Creature
So,
awan
who will come out
card.
victorious? What decks and strategies will reign supreme? And just how much will the new cards from Fate's Voyage Beyond shake things up? Mark your calendars for December 14th. Tune in and find out.
Oke. 14.
Alongside a 3-day tournament
15
event,
sampai
there is a
Sabtu berarti ya.
$140,000
Mungkin
prize
hari
pool
Sabtu
on
kita
the
bisa nonton
line.
full.
Everybody that has already made it
Kalau
this far is
sekarang
going to be going home with just
kayaknya
a
nggak
piece
bisa
of that
full ya.
prize pool. But the
Terlalu
winner
sampai pagi
gets
nanti kayaknya.
$30,000, the lion's share, and you heard it.
Gila,
they get a
30.000
chance
USD.
to actually
Berarti
create
450
a
juta
card.
ya.
It's going to be a follower card, and that feels like such a unique opportunity,
Halo Bang
doesn't it,
Bento, halo
Alex?
Fortuendi. Loh, Fortuendi nggak
most
ini ya?
definitely. I would say
Nggak
I would
live
give
di
quite a bit to make
apa,
not a
di
follower, but a spell card,
Twitch.
which is granted to the second place. Oh boy, making
Sistemnya
a
udah kayak
spell
World PC
for
kemarin.
some,
Oke.
juicy
Gue yakin
karma
kalau
deck,
Heiso gak di nerf bakal ada yang bawa
love
mono
that.
Heiso.
Sounds like
Kayaknya
it
sih.
would be a great prize to have even just for first place
Agak,
alongside of
oke,
that.
oke.
But it is
Asik
going to be
ramekan
for
di
that
sini ya.
second place player. They get a chance to create a spell. But Spids, so
Apa
many
mau ngomong bareng
possibilities to do with either of
di
those choices.
di
What would you pick?
di
And what would the
Discord?
concept be behind your card?
Nah bagus jadi kasih rakyat pemenangnya
This
namanya
is
bisa
a
bikin
totally novel idea. I think I try and
sesuatu
create a format
semaunya.
follow
Tapi
with
pasti
quick attack
dibatasin
and
ya, nggak
shares
boleh terlalu
keywords.
OP
We've never
juga.
seen anything like that in the game, but that's definitely what.
Menarik juga.
Love it, love it. That's good stuff here. We've got the creative juices flowing on the broadcast right now. So
Boleh
this
biar
is the
aku ada
perfect
temannya.
opportunity to talk about yet another creative avenue. And this time, you viewers at home can get involved in this one as well.
Kalau mau tak
That's right,
masukin
we're naming a deck this weekend. We got some brand new
ke
cards coming
lore
through
aja,
from
nanti
the
tak pindahin ke
expansion.
podcast.
And we need to try
Bentar,
to figure
minum
out
dulu,
what we're
oke.
going to name this deck. So,
Baru
thoughts
keluar lagi dia.
here.
Apa keluar lagi apa?
What's jumping out at you?
Name a deck.
Well, going with the how to
Yodel
yodel your
Dragon.
dragon, that definitely brings memories. But I'm looking at the option for right away. Respect your elders. This deck will bring you to the retirement home. That's a pretty good name. Not gonna lie, I definitely a favorite. What do you think? Which takes your eye?
How to yodel your dragon is really funny, but I am not going to enjoy saying that every single
Harusnya
time
for
on
2
cast
second ya,
if
bukan
that
for
ends
2
up getting
ND.
voted. So I really hope it's something that's, only got 2 syllables like Nettie or something.
That's a good
For
point. You guys are stuck with this name every
Wah,
single
wah, wah.
time.
Bener ya,
that
for
you
2
have to
second ya
bring it
harusnya
up
ya.
on broadcast.
Listen, Nettie is definitely would make it easier
Inggrisku
to cast.
jelek,
Come on,
guys.
respect your elders. We have Nora and
Biasa,
Dragon
biasa.
together. Both are pretty ancient beings, no?
Yeah.
here to split the difference for both of you. I think respect your elders is the choice that I would go for. And of course, all of you get a chance
Hello?
to
Testing?
choose
Hello?
your choice. Use the QR
Ah,
code that was just up on your
mantap
screen, and you
nih.
get a chance to vote to
Mantap.
become a part of history.
Jagoin
Nobar
siapa?
dulu.
Runeterra. But we also have a bunch of players that are trying to do
Jagoin
just
siapa?
that by
Gua
claiming the
kalau
title
jujur
of
ya
world
ada
champion this
jagoin
weekend.
Green
So
Slimy.
let's start by going over some of those
Sama
players.
dong,
Let's start
dari
out
Indo
with
dong.
Apex Shark.
Ya, gue kebetulan
Green
emang
Slimy.
latihan
There
sama
are
si
some
Green Slimy gitu.
amazing players
kemarin.
here in APAC.
Oh.
Lots of returners
Dari
from
Bento.
previous
Astaga,
worlds,
itu
such as
fotonya Green
Kinya
Slimy aku
and
baru
Aurora
tahu,
and
guys.
Aurora. We've also got
Sama,
some
gue
Guys,
juga
guys,
baru
lihat.
tahu.
in the
Itu
scene
screenshot,
for
guys.
so
Itu
long,
fotonya Green
finally
Slimy.
make it into worlds
Screenshot
such
dulu,
as
guys.
JO1 and Runeterra. Just amazing
Yang
players,
mana?
and I'm so excited to see who shows up as the best
Hola.
APAC player.
Ya.
Oh, kamu ini diajak ini sama dia.
Iya, diajak screaming, karena-
Ya, scream,
Dia
diajak
kan butuh
scream ya.
latihan.
Iya, iya, pasti.
2022 World Champion Aragorn.
Ya udah, ngebantuin gitu selama
I don't want
2 minggu
to
belakangan
spoil
ini.
anything, but
Kan
like,
dia dapat
Okay.
aksesnya tuh dari tanggal 6 gitu.
Dia bawa deck apa aja?
We have a cast coming
Bentar.
who's been playing
Kalau
so
perihal
many
dia bawa
tournaments.
deck apa,
We have
gue bisa
Ultraman who has been
nge-share ini
such a beast over all this time.
ada
And Aragorn
spreadsheetnya.
himself
Gue juga
defending
lupa.
the title.
Oh, ya
Tapi
nggak
yang gue
apa-apa.
inget tuh dia bawa Elder Dragon
What
Nora
do you
build
know
main.
about
Ya.
about
Oke,
NA?
oke.
Elder Dragon tapi dipakai cuma buat regionnya doang
Wow, I
gitu.
Betul.
think you both make strong
Dipakai
cases
yang
for
menanamnya
the
kan?
APAC and the EMEA
Biar bisa
Sharks.
bawa
The
menanamnya.
Americas
Tuh.
are here to
Ya, ada
maybe
bawa
take
Sainan,
home
ada
that
bawa
grand
Lord
prize.
Brown.
There's
Itu
so many
di-
things that jumped out
di
at me
podcast
as
aku ada
players
bilang
that
tuh.
we're here at the 2022 Legends of
It's one
Runeterra
of the
World
best.
Championships.
Bentar, gua
I'm
ini lagi
looking at
cari
players like
spreadsheetnya dulu
Fluffy
ya, sebentar ya.
Mudkip, the Tank
Gak apa-apa.
Buster,
Lu
but you
santai,
also
santai.
can't count out some of the
Gua tadi
big
naruh di
America's favorites
mana?
either.
Take your
We've got my
time.
Ya,
Gue
dapat.
sambil mau farming jet lumayan buat gacor 1 Mei. One Mei ya betul. Aku juga gacor 1 Mei. Tapi habis 1 Mei ada Black Swan, itu aku jadi pingin banget tuh. Nyoba Nora Elder 3 kali win streak.
Mantap.
Mantap hero. Ya. Kalau
Oke,
hero
gua
sih
share
enggak.
di Discord ya ini di
Ya oke. Kalau
di
hero
LR.
sih aku nggak bingung sih. Hero ikut ini ya, ikut World tahun depan, oke? Hero ini juga jago ini. Sampai jam berapa bang?
Iya,
Nggak tahu nih sampai jam
one of
berapa.
the best. Cyril juga gua tahu itu dia
Yoi.
sering nongol di Open Day 2 dia.
Betul.
Mantap,
Kamu nggak
mantap.
lolos ya poinnya? Ya?
Poin gua gimana ya? Soalnya kadang compete, kadang juga harus casting jadi.
Ya, susah ya.
Iya, gimana lagi?
Oke.
Dapat poin cuma berapa?
So I would love to see if that is going to pay off for some of those players that are a part of a bigger organization like that. But there's also something to be said about the mentality that it
Oke.
takes to
Itu
get
gua udah
through
kirim
not only
si,
a unique format for the first time for the World
Excelnya ke Discord.
Championships, but
Oke.
you gotta have a
Gua
little bit of that
cari
edge, don't you,
Green
coba.
Alan?
Slimy.
Yeah, most definitely. The preparation group is
Misalnya mau
very
lihat.
important, and also on top of that experience that comes with competing in the
Jax
even the
Orn dia
smaller
bawa,
tournaments or
Seraphine
grass-
Set,
grass, tournaments.
Oke.
Ionia
Like, they
Piltover
build
dia
up your
bawa
confidence
sama
up to the
Elder
point where
Dragon
when you
Nora.
compete at that
Tambah
biggest
satu
stage,
Genar.
where now we are at the
Biar bisa
Worlds,
Pokistik ngedraw.
definitely matters because when you jump in,
Dan Genar itu
don't be stressed.
istilahnya itu
You'll
printer
be
buat
misplaying.
Pokistik. Salah
You're
satu
not
kartu yang
mentally
excellent
ready.
banget buat
Participating
dikomboin
in
sama
the
Lord
previous
Broadman
Worlds, in
gitu.
seasonals, in
Okay.
all the regionals,
Iya.
most definitely help. On top of that, having a proper preparation. Let's not forget.
Bentar nih, suaranya tak kecilin
are in
dulu
the
ya,
new
biar
expansion.
suara kita
Boleh.
kedengeran.
Players to prepare.
Iya.
Like if you don't have a proper preparation group, like
Bentar,
you might
di
fall
Discord.
behind. Let's not forget about the last year
Oh,
Worlds
di
where
lore, oke.
players
Iya, di lore, di lore.
missed out on
Yes.
their, best decks. No
Oh,
one
jangan di
knows
sini.
which was Acolytes. And
Mengganggu.
maybe this time there will be such a broken deck that one, maybe two players brings or no one. Let's find out.
Oke, Aragorn ini yang menang kemarin ya?
Aragorn
menang tahun
itu
lalu
yang
ya?
menang
Yang menang tahun lalu kan?
2022.
Oke,
Dia
dia
tuh
bawa
kalau nggak
karma.
salah make-
Dia bawa karma set. Oke, karma set. Atroken, oke. Mordekaiser Nora. Kok Mordekaiser Nora?
Itu gimana ya? Mordekaiser itu nge-revive yang portal printernya gitu kayak semacam jump construct, team maker.
Oke.
Jadi unit lu nggak habis-habis gitu,
Oke.
terus-terusan.
Ah tuh ada KD free roll tuh, jagoan kedua aku itu. Yang pertama Green
KD free roll.
Slimy, yang kedua reroll.
Ya, reroll itu dari tahun 2022 dia juga di World Championship. Dia finishnya itu top 4 lah kalau nggak salah.
Oh iya, 2022 ya. Aku tahu dia itu dari ini ISL tahun lalu. Karena aku nge-caster.
Oh iya benar gua ingat.
Aku nge-caster dari 4 season, dari 4 game kan, maksudnya 4 itu dia 3 itu masuk, yang terakhir dia nggak masuk. Nah, dari yang 3 itu dia 2 juara berturut-turut, yang ketiga dia kalah.
Emangnya kalau Korea itu powerhouse banget ini.
Iya,
Di
gila
LoL
sih.
jago, TFT jago.
Jago,
Di
dia
LoL juga jago.
dia rerollnya jago banget. Ngawur emang.
Dan
Dan nyobain patch baru TFT tadi sudah. Gue main Indonesia kalahnya sama deck mill doang, nggak bisa menang. Oke.
Oh, yang deck mill yang macam Maokai dan Watery Grave itu.
Mungkin kayak.
Iya. Memang
Topi
udah
market.
kumpulnya jalan itu.
X on, Elder Dragon Nora, oke, Mordekaiser
All of the
Morgana,
new
oke
champions
itu
have made
juga
a
kuat.
massive impact into
Dengan
this.
orang
By the way, Bang
Mordekaiser
Bento itu
Morgana.
di pojok kiri atas ada deck stats kan, ada deck list, ada deck stats. Kita bisa klik deck statsnya dan kita bisa lihat yang bawa Elder Dragon Nora itu ada 35 orang.
orang, betul. Yang
Tapi
bawa.
belum semuanya itu. Ada juga varian Elder Dragon Nora yang tambah genar. Tuh, ada lagi tambah 42 orang bawa Elder Dragon Nora.
Look at all those new
I see.
Jadi
spicy
Elder
decks
Dragon
coming
itu
from.
salah satu yang
Aren't you
paling
guys
sering dipakai
excited
di World
to
Championship
see
ini.
what players
Ada yang dipakai
look
cuma
up?
buat regionnya,
Remember,
ada
those
juga
players
yang
were
dipakai buat
practicing
Elder
day
Dragon
and
level 2
night
juga.
for 2
Win
weeks.
conditionnya ada
Those
Elder Dragon
decks
Shyvana,
pretty
kita
well
bisa lihat ada
extreme
Elder Dragon
all days.
Ya,
apa lagi ya,
ya.
Volibear.
Oke, oke. Berani
Berani
dia.
banget ternyata.
Iya. Elder Dragon Jana Serapin loh.
I cannot wait to see
Gila.
as we start to kind of go through this
Kalau
first
yang
round
Jana
today,
Serapin
what
gua nggak tahu
lineups
itu.
Itu yang katanya meme
kombonya
ya.
gimana.
because this is just a breakdown of the meta decks and the champions. But walk me
Iya,
through
iya,
here,
iya.
Ya, padahal di
Spades.
podcast
What are
aku sudah
players
bilang
been
juga
looking for
cukup
when it
bawa
comes down
satu,
to
tapi kan
making
dia
that
bawa yang
three-deck
mana 6 ke
lineup
atas
with
bisa
the new
semua
expansion
semua
involved.
region bisa masuk kan, itu yang
Iya,
bahaya.
mantap banget itu.
Nah, itu yang
Lu
bahaya.
bisa masukin Silent, bisa masukin Riptide Rex.
Betul, betul.
Deckman juga jadi nggak kebatas.
Ya, itu.
Mantap itu.
Betul.
The Morgana Mordekaiser and then their pick of the third deck, whether it's a set
Ada
deck,
every
whether
roll
it's
dia bawa
Jackson,
Genar
whether it's something
Jarvan.
else. But a lot of other people also going to be trying
Garen
to
Genar
counter this
Jarvan.
thing. We've seen 5 people bring
Menarik
Mill
sekali,
this
kok
time
ada
around
Genar
to
ya?
try and deck out these decks.
Oh, sebenarnya itu
There are people that are trying
bukan
to go
deck
for these
yang
awkward,
di build-nya
like, other options that may not have that much oomph
gara-gara
inherently,
championnya,
but are
tapi itu
able
kalau
to
nggak salah
target what
decknya
may
itu
have
deck
been
Warden of
obvious
the
as
Tribe.
the big
Lu
Oh
ingat
iya
nggak
betul,
Warden of the
deck
Tribe?
Warden betul.
Look,
Love that.
we
Betul
have,
betul. Aku
several
buka nih
options
deck
here.
Warden
Like,
of the
if the
Tribe,
players go
bagus.
for the,
Oh,
they say,
dia
"Okay,
karena
we
ada
want to
Cloud
be
Drake,
consistent.
jadi Wardennya
Let's
bisa tetap
bring
8
the
mana.
3 decks that has the
Betul.
best
Ya, ya,
stuff right
ya,
now
ya,
in
Bisa
ya.
di
terms of
diskon.
play rate to
Bisa di
win.
diskon.
Kan 12-12
Betul,
biasa.
betul, betul.
We'll go, let's try to counter
Ya,
them.
ya, ya,
We do
ya.
not go with
Genar
either,
2,
like
Garen
Skid
2,
mentioned.
Jarvan 2, oke.
Either Mill,
Tapi
try
dia
to
nggak
go
bawa
with the
senjata yang
mushrooms
baru
are
ya.
very effective,
Menarik.
Against the slow decks
Senjata
because
yang
you
baru.
can
Oh,
embody
yang,
those mushrooms and
kopi?
just kill them without them
Bukan
being
senjata
able to
yang
interact
dia
with
kayak
you
Warden
or
of the
go
Tribe kan,
under
yang nambah
their
attack
board, which is just
tergantung
Oh,
ini yang
iya.
kita mainin,
And,
senjata yang baru.
make them
Oh,
unable
saddle
to
kuda
block
itu
you.
Ya,
ya.
betul,
ya,
betul.
ya, ya,
Sneakily
ya.
plus.
Kurang bagus, itu cuma bagus dipasangnya di Overwhelm dan
Betul, betul.
kayaknya untuk di deck ini kurang gitu Overwhelm, cuma Genar level 2, Glacial Saurian dan Warden of the Tribe dan itu udah
Betul, betul.
hitungannya udah late game gitu.
Telat. Elder Dragon Nora, oke. Karma Set, oke. Dia pakai Karma Set juga ya.
Some new,
Karma Set memang masih kuat sih ya.
Memang. Itu di deck stat juga Karma Set masih yang top 3 gitu. 21
Betul.
orang bawa Karma Set.
Ya, betul. Gila sih, Runeterra nih bawa Aurelion Sol Morgana. Apa-apaan ini?
Gue sempat itu lawan di ladder dia.
Aurelion Sol
Emang
Morgana.
decknya ya pakai ramping dari Targon gitu, pakai
Oh,
mana
Echo of Dragon. Oke.
Iya.
Ya, 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 ya. Dia bawa
Menarik
Eclipse
juga.
Dragon, Border Black Eyes, Infinite Mind Splitter. Ini benar-benar main late dan main ngerem ya, karena ada kartu baru yang dari Targon ini, Otarni Dragon Worshipper ya, yang nambah mana next roundnya sekali aja. Ya itu lumayan sih. Ya,
Anyway,
ya.
yang mau lihat ini gue bisa ngirim link ke chat nggak by the way?
Bisa, bisa.
Oke ya, ini buat yang mau ngecek di decklistnya itu. Yang 2023
Set setup ini
semuanya
menarik
ada di
tuh. Oke, lihat decknya kok. Oh ya, ya, mau lihat deck nih nanti dikasih linknya sama si ini.
I'm calling that card Omen.
Sama si for 2 second ya.
It's Omen dog. I don't care. It's
42 aja lah biar nggak ribet.
42.
and it's as broken.
Kenapa kok 42?
Yang nggak tahu juga saya. bengong saya juga.
Mordekaiser
begini?
Oh man,
Sena.
I'm
Oke.
so excited now. Spids, Alan, thank you both so much for giving us a great introduction into what to expect, not just for this tournament, but also looking forward to right now, because
Green
we've
Slimy,
got a
Jack on,
Swiss round number
Serapin
1
set.
coming at you, and I don't
Serapin
think
set,
anyone could
kok
be
nggak
more
pakai,
excited about who this could
kok
be,
nggak pakai
because we're
karma?
gonna be following
Menarik
Aragorn for
sekali.
this next one. Let's hear
Serafin
what
itu
he
lebih
had to
cepat
say
soalnya
about coming
entry-nya
back to
dengan
defend
combo
the
berkali bar
European
gitu.
title.
Oke.
Dibanding karma kan harus turn 10 gitu.
Ya.
I mean, I have to defend my title.
Oke, aku tanya,
I have to defend.
gimana caranya
I think
loh,
last
enggak,
watch
gimana caranya
was
kamu
too
nentuin
relaxed
apa
because
namanya?
I'm familiar
Deck sama Green Slimy? Caranya sparringnya, caranya
and
ininya gimana?
I'm going to enjoy it a lot.
Nentuin deck apa yang mau dipakainya gitu. Kita
Yes.
jadi semacam brainstorming gitu lah
Dia aku pengen tahu
tanggal-
gimana caranya Green Slimy bisa sampai milih satu deck. Ya, aku akhirnya mau mainin ini gitu. Gimana cara scrimnya, gimana cara ininya gitu.
Ya dari tanggal 6 sampai 9 itu karena patch-nya belum begitu metanya settle,
Ya.
kita tuh ngebikin deck lah kayak apa gitu. Ya coba-coba aja prototype belum sempurna gitu.
Oke.
Kita bikin sekitar ada 10 atau 11 lah kalau nggak salah waktu itu.
Oke.
Dan begitu metanya udah mulai kebentuk, udah mulai yang data-data di runeterra.ar di website gitu udah ada yang top decknya, kita jadi si Green Slimy-nya itu dia pakai deck yang kita buat selama beberapa hari yang belakangan itu, dan gua sama Scream grupnya itu jadi agresor lah istilahnya. Jadi yang pakai deck dari Runeterra, apakah decknya si Green Slime ini bisa nahan dari serbuan kita gitu?
Oke.
Apa decknya masih ada potensial, masih bisa di-refine,
Oke.
dicocok-cocokin. Terus
Oke.
kalau misalnya decknya istilahnya gagal, kita eliminasi dan akhirnya jatuh ke 3 opsi gitu
Oke.
istilahnya.
Scrimnya sama siapa aja? Ada Runeterra?
Runeterra enggak. Runeterra itu sama timnya dia di THC gitu.
Oke.
Di Filipina.
Jadi
Kalau
timnya
si-
Green Slimy sama siapa aja dia scrimnya?
Sebenarnya kita independen tapi banyak kenalan juga. Screamingnya itu sama dari ABG ada itu yang tim
Oke.
global.
Ya, ya.
Ada juga sama orang Filipina itu sama yang bekas blacklist internasional.
Oke.
Ya, jadi kita screamingnya
mantap.
kira-kira 5-an gitu.
Oke, mantap juga. Mantap juga.
Iya,
Ya.
ya.
Tapi akhirnya juga kayak scrim awal tuh ditentuin sama meta-meta terakhir juga berarti ya.
Betul juga. Oh ya, lucunya itu kita sempet loh punya rencana kita bakal nge-run line up isinya 9 Heisho. 3 Heisho di setiap deck. Tapi gagal rencananya
Karena
karena
di
Heisho-nya
nerf.
di nerf.
Iya. Aku
Iya,
sudah
jadi-
bilang tadi, ada yang ngomong kok. Ini kalau ini kan aku tadi bilang ini orang-orang sudah nyoba duluan, tapi sayangnya ada immediate nerf buat Heiso. Itu bubar semua pasti yang buat deck.
Betul.
Iya. Ya, itu kartu memang luar biasa ngeri. Ikut komunitas
Gimana ya?
compiler gimana ya? Aku awalnya penasaran. Aku nggak ikut komunitasnya guys. Import to NDD
Kalau dibilang ada komunitas sih enggak juga sih, asal
Itu
lu
asal
sering
kenalan
nongol di
kayaknya
ladder.
ya.
Ya sering kenalan kalau misalnya di Twitch, punya akun Twitch ya kenalan aja sama orang-orang streamernya biasanya.
Nah, itu.
Kenal satu sama lain gitu.
Nah, itu.
Dan apa istilahnya teh?
Saling kenalan tuh.
Iya saling kenalan gitu dan saling ketemu di turni, sering ketemu di top ladder gitu.
Yep.
Nanti
Ya.
juga kenal sendiri.
Ya, aku pingin buat apa namanya, pengen podcast sama si Green Slimy, waktunya belum ketemu terus. Sibuk dia.
Iya. Karena emang lagi preparasi itu
Iya,
2
lagi
minggu
prepare.
terakhir dia.
Ya, semoga dia bisa menang. Lumayan, 150 juta ya.
Wah, mudah-mudahan masuk dia sampai day 2.
Mudah-mudahan.
Top 16 aja dulu.
Betul. Top 16 aja dulu.
Yeah, I think if you're coming into the
Terus
first
finalnya cuma
championship
dari top
with
berapa
not as much
finalnya?
time to test, with things much more up in
Finalnya
the
itu
air,
formatnya
you're
itu
willing to take that
16
risk.
double
And now
elimination.
he's appreciated, as
Jadi
you said, Boulevard, the history
Loh,
and the
berarti
legacy
day
he's
1,
begun
day
to
2
build
ini
in this
cuma
game. So,
Swiss.
let's see what he did
Day 1
bring,
itu
something
cuma
a
Swiss
bit
doang,
more
7
grounded,
ronde,
something a bit more
3 orang.
Day
unexpected.
2?
We'll
Jadi
jump right in and take a
day
look
2
at
itu
these
udah
decks
mulai
now.
top 16 gitu. Dimainin upper bracketnya, lower bracketnya gitu disiapin. Day 3-nya
Oke.
ya finalisasi
Lanjutannya,
gitu.
ya.
Iya.
Ini berarti
Jadi
7
untuk day
round, anggapannya 7 jam, berarti 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Berarti kira-kira sampai jam 5 pagi, dan aku nggak mungkin
Betul.
stream sampai jam 5 pagi.
And I really like
Ya,
the idea.
berarti mungkin ya paling sampai jam 1, jam 2 lah. Mungkin hari Sabtu deh finalnya ya, last day, mungkin aku bisa stream sampai habis. Tapi kalau sekarang kayak nggak mungkin aku stream sampai habis ya.
Ya, sebisanya aja
Tidak
dulu.
kuat. Oke, ini Runeterra ya.
Oh, ini Runeterra betul.
Ya, ini
Morgana
Runeterra.
Aurelion Soul.
Ya, makanya menarik banget.
Age of Dragon pula. Dan
Ya, dia main
Age of
main
Dragon-nya
Age of
itu
Dragon.
bisa dimainin waktu turn 8. Soalnya ada kartu Targon yang baru yang 4 mana yang bisa ngasih lu mana kristal di next turn gitu.
Ya.
Tahu nggak?
Betul. Ya, tadi yang aku bilang itu. Dan
Matahari
ini
gitu.
sekarang dia Elder Dragon-nya juga bawa Age of Dragon. Dia main deck Age of Dragon ini.
Bener juga, coba gua cek ini di Microsoft Excel. Coba.
Iya, tadi kan aku bilang tadi ya. Nah, sama yang terakhir dia Mordekaiser.
Oh, pasti
Mordekaiser sama Sena enggak, Mordekaiser
Oh,
toh.
enggak.
Oh enggak, Mordekaiser sama Sena betul.
Ada Sena, ada
Ya,
Sena.
Mordekaiser Sena betul.
Mordekaiser
Sena.
Ini
Oh.
tuh deck kontrol yang khusus nge-counter Elder Dragon yang main unit-unit besar dan mahal.
Betul,
Soalnya
karena ada
Sena ini bisa
castigate.
akselerasi castigate betul.
Ya. Terus lawan ketemu Aragon dia di awal.
Mantap.
Wow. Oh, aku ngerti sih itu. Dia karena Morgananya sudah sama Asol, jadi dia apa namanya Mordekaiser nggak bisa sama Morgana.
Betul.
Dan ini, waduh, Aragon bisa ngalahin nggak ya?
Sebenarnya kalau dari segi speed, Karma Set itu kelamaan gitu buat lawan Elder Dragon istilahnya. Mereka harus nunggu sampai turn 10, tapi Elder Dragon bisa meledak di turn 9 gitu. Bisa aja sampai turn 10 nggak nyampe.
Ken Atro,
Keburu menang duluan.
ya kemungkinan mungkin yang di band yang ini ya, castigate ya, yang mungkin ya kalau memang nge-counter yang unit-unit yang main unit gitu kan.
Iya, betul.
Tapi ya bisa jadi yang di band mungkin yang kedua ya. Elder Dragon, bukan decknya. Oh ya, Karma Set berarti nggak mungkin di band sama si Runeterra. Kemungkinan besar yang di band mungkin Nora Mordekaiser ini kayaknya.
Kayaknya Nora Mordekaiser lolos deh, nggak bakal di ban.
Nggak bakal di ban?
Nggak bakal. Tapi nggak tahu, ini masih spekulasi gua ya, nggak tahu praktiknya gimana. Soalnya
ya
mereka
kan.
punya gimana ya? Kalau Runeterra tuh ini deck-decknya gimana ya? Runeterra tuh ngincernya late game dan emang ada ancaman seram dari Karma Set. Kalau Karma Set itu emang udah paling ultimate-nya lah kalau game
Kalau
udah
udah round 10 ya.
Betul. Jadi kemungkinan nge-ban Karma Set, biarpun sebenarnya si Elder Dragon-nya Runeterra ini bagus lawan
Oh iya betul.
Karma, dan itu di-ban benar.
Di band. Nah bener kan?
Ya kalau
Enggak. Yang di atas Mordekaiser sama Castigate ya, bener ya di band ya.
ya Fastigate-nya di-ban juga, jadi
Betul.
menarik ini. Kane Aether hitungnya cepet loh.
Betul.
Kalau cepet
Oke.
kayaknya Runeterra-nya nggak sempat buat stabilisasi, tapi kita lihat aja ini.
Ya kita lihat aja. Karena ini ngontrol banget kan. Itu udah Cosmic Youngling udah pasti di keep untuk early game. Dia bisa taruh Otrani di round 5, di round 7, nanti round 6-nya dia bisa langsung Eclipse Dragon kalau mau. Tapi kemungkinan ini kayak bakal diganti semua sih, Otrani, Celestial Wonder, Eclipse Dragon bakal diganti.
Yang link doang yang disimpan
Kayak Youngling doang yang disimpan.
versus
Sementara
Age
di
of
sisi
Dragons. I
Aragorn ini
think
udah
that
dapat
if
senjata
Ya,
buat
Aragorn udah
aktivasi
dapat, ya
kartu-kartu
udah dapat
kultis.
Aatrox could just
equipment-nya.
take over the board early and
Oh enggak, yang diganti 2 aja, tetap ke draw. Udah di mulligan tetap ke draw Eclipse Dragon-nya.
Klasik.
Oh, oke dia bawa stun. Oke, dia ngedraw asal. Prospek Youngling turun, pasti diturunin Keeper of the, ya itu. Next
Jadi
round-nya
kayak
dia bakal
yang-
mainin equipment-nya kayaknya.
Iya. Oke, jadi kayak yang lu bilang tadi kalau si Runeterra itu kemungkinan bakal turn 5 ngedrop Outrunny untuk persiapan turn 6-nya bisa ngedrop Eclipse Dragon.
Oke.
Tapi turn 7-nya nggak bisa mainin Aesel karena si temporary mana dari si Outrunny itu ya temporary gitu, nggak
Iya, betul.
permanen. Jadi Aurelion Soul-nya tetap di diskon 8
Tapi
mana.
ya nggak bisa.
Ya nggak bisa dimainin di turn
Nggak bisa
7.
dimainin juga.
Tapi tetap kayaknya gameplaynya bakal gitu.
Oke.
Kecuali Runeterra-nya bisa matiin Blue Sentinel sendiri biar bisa dapat mana tambahan
Betul,
gitu.
betul.
Untuk sementara di early game ini baik-baik saja. Ini ada stabilisasi dari Cosmic Youngling, si Aragorn-nya juga belum ngasih pressure yang gede-gedean dan sebenarnya Aragorn ini tangannya kurang lucky
Kurang
ya.
bagus ya.
Unitnya sedikit.
Iya.
Dan untuk progress si Origin buat ngedraw Kane, buat ngedraw Aatrox, udah mainin 2 kultis berarti sekitar 2 kultis lagi baru ngedraw Kane dan udah mainin 2 senjata. Berarti 1 senjata yang beda lagi bakal ngedraw Aatrox. Tapi untuk saat ini belum ada gitu di tangannya.
Oke, Aatrox-nya ke draw.
Oh, bisa juga terlalu natural. Betul.
Sering-sering nobar gini kok. Ya sering-sering ada turnamen dong. Biar bisa nobar.
Betul.
Seasonal kemarin masalah Sabtu Minggu kadang aku pergi sih siangnya. Jadi nggak bisa. Ini nggak bisa ngeblok ya.
Oh iya, Fearsome ini.
Ya bakal di stun.
Kecuali oh itu stun ya, Celestial Wonder. Oh.
Kayaknya betul. Dark Binding kan?
Oh, Dark Binding.
Ya Dark Binding bakal di stun. Oke, bakal dipakai langsung sepertinya karena nggak bisa juga mau mainin yang lain.
Iya,
So, bakal
sesuai
dipakai
rencana,
sekarang
bakal
shackle-nya.
Outrunny. Runeterra-nya bakal ngeluarin Outrunny dan persiapan buat Eclipse Dragon into Aurelion Soul.
Betul. Oke, sekarang dia Eclipse Dragon. Jelek banget tangannya Aragorn.
Betul. Tapi sekarang seenggaknya bisa ngedrop Aatrox jadi
Betul.
si Hitless Resurrection-nya punya fungsi gitu buat
Ya, betul.
nge-summon balik Aatrox.
Oke, tapi dia nggak bisa drop Assault. Mungkin dia bakal drop Morgana, tapi ini kayaknya bakal di-attackin.
Sebenarnya Runeterra itu tadi waktu attack token masih punya dia bisa nyerang pakai Blue Sentinel dan gua yakin Aragorn pasti nggak mau ngeblok soalnya
Pasti nggak mau ngeblok, betul.
Iya, Blue Sentinelnya mati jadi di mana tambahan.
Dia bisa jadi
kalau
bisa
Runeterra
ngedrop
punya
Assault.
bisa ngedrop iya betul. Oke, good play from both of player. Kecuali tadi tapi
Ya ini aku nggak tahu kenapa di-attackin. Tapi mungkin karena dia punya ini ya buat resurrect ya.
iya.
Tapi karena kalau misalkan Aragorn nggak nge-push damage sekarang, Runeterra kemungkinan besar bisa menang karena Edge of Dragon juga sudah ada di tangan, Assault juga ada di tangan.
Bener juga. Ini kemungkinan bisa jadi Edge of Dragon next turn loh. Kalau Blue Sentinel-nya dipakai buat ngeblok dan mati,
Oh betul.
dan Runeterra bisa ngebank 3 spell mana, 3 spell mana, dia punya 12 buat nge-cast Edge of Dragon. Apakah itu bakal kejadian kita nggak tahu. Kita lihat aja dulu.
Ini kayaknya bakal di buff biar nggak mati yang kanan ya. Oh enggak.
Okay, I was gonna say all the units will survive. The World Ender will go down to 11 mana. That's something that Aragorn would be able to play on the next turn. Assimilate the entire board into Darken, but decides, you know what, I've got this Buru Cultist.
Dia Morgana bisa turun sekarang sih.
Bener. Dan tetap Runeterra punya 3.
Betul.
Effective ways to pop Aurelion Soul Spell Shield and Frostbite that unit a little bit later down the line.
Ini kalau sampai Aragorn kalah, Runeterra menang.
Menarik juga ini.
Because of that looming threat,
Heboh.
a large dragon or something along
Oke,
those lines,
Solani.
it's been pretty difficult
Nah,
to make
ini
that
Solani bakal
call, say,
ngedraw
"Okay, I wanna
Kane.
get this Aatrox
Belum.
down,
Belum.
double heedless and go from there." Runeterra's
Oh ya,
already
Solani
got
itu
some
Darkin
major
bukan
after
kultis ya.
Solani
Kalau
enters
mau
play.
Aragorn mau
Ini bukan
ngedraw
kultis.
Kane bisa
Ya,
main
ini dia
bunuh
draw
kultis.
Kane sekarang.
Nah,
We've got a mana gem that's about to be given over to Runeterra. That's going to be 9 mana plus 3 spell mana bank.
are we going to
9
see it?
plus 3
Are we
is
going to see the
12,
Age of
and that
Dragon
is
here?
Age
Ya
of
kita akan
Dragons
lihat
mana with
dia
5
ngedraw
hand
dragon apa?
spaces.
Dipakai, dimainin. Age of
Beneran
Dragon.
dimainin dan kita lihat
Is lined up beautifully. Age of Dragons
Age of
now
Dragon di
coming.
round
Let's see how
8.
many he draws,
Kita lihat dia
Boulevard.
draw berapa? 1,
1,
2,
2,
3.
3.
3 aja. Asol.
Tapi ada asolnya itu. Boleh.
Ya, mantep banget itu. Itu dia main stun dulu pertama. Susah sih itu.
Iya, dan di tangan Aragorn itu nggak ada answer gitu, nggak ada jawaban buat ngelawan ini. Infinite Mind Splitter, Eclipse Dragon, dan Aurelion Sol itu bakalan tetap ada di board sampai next turn gitu. Nggak ada Furious Wielder, nggak ada Utter Devastation gitu buat nge-handle board dari punya
Tapi
Raftera.
main splitter tuh kayak bisa dibunuh langsung sih sekarang. Dengan stun, dengan dia ngebuff si Aatrox, terus dikasih itu spell dia. Oh tadi dia kayak draw spell yang mukul enggak ya?
Oh enggak, dia
next roundnya itu, next roundnya.
Iya. Sabar juga ini ternyata Raftera tidak langsung ngedrop Infinite Mind Splitter dan Aurelion Soul-nya. Menarik.
Wants to save the Aurelion Sol threat, is definitely looking to punish with the Infinite Mind Splitter. Gonna get some value out of these dragons perhaps right now to clear some board space, just to see what Aragorn is up to.
Pasti di block sama
Unforgiving Cold right now on a
Aatrox-nya pasti
defensive
ngeblock sih.
then perhaps you have a clearer path to victory come your next attack token.
Everyone's lining up the blocks, trying to do this World Ender math, going, okay, how do I get out of this one? Why hasn't Runeterra played the other 2 dragons that they drew off of the Age of Dragons just yet? It's going to be 7 Nexus damage coming through. The Aatrox survives. Dark and Lodestone now going to come down, and we're looking at a pretty impactful assimilation next turn.
Gila, Runeterra sabar.
Bener-bener sabar, dan Aurelion Soul-nya bakal level up next turn. Udah pasti nggak bakal
level up
juga itu. Dan juga Infinite Mind Splitter-nya bakalan ngestun Aatrox, bakalan ngestun si
ngestun
Kane
Aatrox
juga.
dan Kane.
Ini tinggal nunggu attack token, tinggal nunggu next attack token. Raftera menang ini game 1.
At the moment, Aragorn was just 1 mana shy of taking out that Mind Splitter. Would have had to sacrifice the Aatrox as well as the Aatrox spell in hand to get it done. And this is a precarious position here, Skarzik. I don't know how Aragorn gets out of this, especially with a harsh winds top deck from Runeterra.
Ini Runeterra udah menang sih.
Betul. Tinggal tunggu ini aja attack token berikutnya.
Betul.
Apa ya harapan dari Aragorn? Coba gua cek dulu ya, itu decknya Aragorn yang Kane Aatrox. Apakah ada Utter Devastation? Atau mungkin udah terlalu telat untuk Utter Devastation kalau misalnya bawa. Kayaknya terlalu telat deh ya.
Oke, dia level up.
I guess the question now is just, is it Supernova or is it the Skies Descend?
After Aragorn has laid down all of this mana, the Skies Descend looks like a
Kane-nya balik, jadi stunnya hilang.
Betul juga, tapi apakah itu akan merubah keadaan gitu? Aatrox-nya bisa dipakai buat ngebunuh Cosmic Youngling atau Morgana.
Oh, nggak bisa. Ini obliterate ya, nggak bisa dihidupin lagi.
Betul, nggak bisa diresurrect.
Nggak bisa diresurrect.
Dan Aragorn nggak punya mana buat nge-cast spell shield itu, the Darkin Protection.
Ya betul, karena mananya 2 itu cuma mana 1. Tapi itu nggak mati yang satunya. Tapi habis ini tinggal di open attack, nggak bisa sih, karena satunya diikat kan, diikat Morgana,
Ya, di
shackle, nggak bisa ngeblok.
Dan Morgananya juga bakal level up dari punya Raftera, itu juga bakal nge-shackle unit yang lain.
Betul,
Jadi
betul.
Aragorn udah nggak punya blocker sama sekali ini.
Betul.
Ya udah kita tinggal nunggu game 2.
Betul. Game 1 sudah di tangannya Runeterra sih.
As we see in hand, there's only one
Ya.
Furious
Karena kebawa di
Wielder
late
to
game ya.
even try
Dan
Betul.
draw-nya dari Egg
Aragorn just
of Dragon
evaluating
bagus
the
banget.
situation, seeing is there any way
Benar.
I can block this down? Can I put up any more threat potential from this point? And I'm certainly not seeing it. Boulevard game 1 seems to be very much in the
Oh,
hands of Runeterra.
Atroknya mati jadinya 5 mana. Harusnya jadi 0 mana bukan sih?
Enggak,
Kan dia level up kan?
Ya level up, tapi si efek diskon dari Aatrox itu bergantung kepada apakah Aatroxnya hidup di board atau enggak. Jadi kalau misalnya Aatroxnya mati ya,
Bukannya kalau
diskonnya
Ken,
hilang.
bukannya Ken kalau level up dia akan dapat gratis ya? Bakal balik ke tangan ya?
That is
Kalau Kane yang masih dalam posisi bisa milih. Kalau Kane-nya level up dari
oke,
World
oke,
Ender, dia selalu bakal jadi
Dia selalu bakal 5 ya?
Selalu bakal jadi Kane merah gitu istilahnya, bukan Kane yang milih.
Nih, apakah dia bisa menang lawan deck Elder Dragon dengan
Kita
Age
lihat
of
aja.
Dragon yang sama? Wah,
Kita penasaran juga ini.
ini bisa menang 2-0 ini. Ayo,
Betul
gila, Runeterra bawa Age of Dragon jago juga ya kalau di belakang ya. Mungkin tadi karena drawnya si Aragorn ini ya kurang bagus ya.
Iya, kultisnya belum keluar itu di awal-awal, cuman
Yes.
kultis yang live steal doang. Mordekaiser Nora. Wah, itu unitnya berantakan banget, banyak unit swarming di early game gitu. Menarik. Dan si deck Elder Dragon punya Runeterra ini maininnya kalau udah late game one unit per turn gitu, yang unit mahal-mahal.
Oke.
Jadi kemungkinan ini bisa di rundown sebenarnya Runeterra.
Oke.
Ini bisa satu-satu. Tapi kita lihat aja dulu.
Ya. Ini kalau aku jadi Aragorn deg-degan nih. Yang aku tinggal 1. Ini untuk lolos jadi top 16 harus skornya berapa ya?
Oh, untuk jadi top 16.
Ya.
Tuh,
Berapa tanding? 7. Berarti kan pasti ada yang 7-0. Yang 7-0 itu berapa ya? Berapa orang ya? Ini totalnya berapa orang yang ikut ya?
64 orang yang ikut, 16 spot yang available. Jadi gua cek dulu ya, ada Swiss calculator juga ini di website.
Oh, mantap.
Swiss calculator. Top cut calculator sebentar ya. 64 player, 7 round.
Kok sudah 2-0? Kok Runeterra udah 2-0?
Wah, kayaknya error di produksi sedikit deh. Gak tahu sih.
Mungkin. Nggak, kayaknya nyambung. Reconnecting. Terus gagal. Biasanya gitu ya.
Ya bisa.
Biasanya kalau main sama temen gitu sekarang. Oh, kalau main sama friend tuh sering gitu. Gagal.
Deathless, tough, fearsome challenger, even the heal because it gets your entire board plus your nexus. Sometimes that's enough to get
Iya, soalnya ini mainnya tiba-tiba lama banget game 2-nya.
Not that we're seeing a ton of aggression.
Ada
langsung.
sedikit technical
Kayaknya.
Klasik.
And here we're actually getting to see some of the variety patch cards highlighted as well. Both Boadir, the Blackened Ice, and Enraged Fire Spitter finally coming together in
Jadi
the
untuk
same
yang
list.
beberapa orang yang masuk ke top 16 itu, jadi yang 7-0 udah pasti guaranteed pasti masuk.
Pasti masuk.
Ya 6-1 itu ada 4 orang yang masuk, dan dari 5-2 itu ada sekitar 11 orang yang masuk. Jadi
5-2 berarti masih boleh kalah 2 kali ya?
masih boleh kalah 2 kali.
Oke.
And Aikido, I believe, if I heard that
Boleh
correctly,
kalah
that
2
is
kali. Berarti kalau udah kalah 3 kali, drop aja. Oh, ganti. Aikido lawan Grand Paroji. Skornya masih 0-0.
Iya.
Itu dia bawa set apa itu?
Itu
Oh, salah.
Ini
Set
salah
PNZ.
visual,
Ya,
tapi
salah simbol.
set
Makanya aku
PNZ
bingung.
dengan Sunken Temple.
Berarti
Grand
sama
Paroji
berarti sama Serapin ya?
ada yang bawa sama Serafin, ada juga yang bawa sama Karma. Nggak tahu sih ini yang versi mana. Coba gua
Oh iya,
konsultasi
Karma
sama
kan
Excel dulu.
Karma kan Ionia juga ya. Ya betul.
Betul. Grand Paroji. Oh, dia bawa Karma set.
Karma set. Oke.
Aha.
Di blok.
Masih early game.
Lawannya kayak Nora Morde ya.
Kalau misalnya Aikado dia bawa
you know, a little bit of challenger can come out from the Elder
Nora
Dragon and
Elder
help out a
Dragon
little
dia.
bit, but
Ya
for the most
betul
part,
ya. Ini
Riptide
kayaknya
Rex is that
yang lagi
surefire
dimainin
way to
Nora
clear
Elder Dragon nih.
A card that I am definitely zeroing in on is
Oke.
that Sunken
Mystic
Temple.
shotnya.
Can offset a lot of these cost increases from Prank and allow Grandpa Roji to kind of go into this overwhelming value, celebrating a small
4
update
mana.
on the scoreboard as
Lihat
well.
tuh,
We see that Roji is up
itu
1.
6 mana
Aikido
semua
sitting
itu
on
yang
double Riptide Rex, has
yang
the
di
win condition
tangannya
locked in,
dia ya.
just needs to get there.
Betul.
Lihat tuh.
And it's
Itu
worth noting
kuat
that
Elder
Aikido is
Dragon
bringing one
dimasukin
Explorer
semua.
in this deck, the Portal Pioneer is in there,
Dan
so there
bagusnya
is
itu combo si
landmark
Elder Dragon
removal
itu
for that
dia
Sunken
tetap
Temple, but it's gotta
nyalain
come off the top now. This
si
is the turn
Dragon
where it comes
Boon-nya
down
yang
and it's
efek
not
tiap
there,
lu
and
main 6
this is
mana
just
dapat
such a
buff
top
random
heavy
itu
expensive
ke
hand from
unit
Aikido.
yang
Really heartbreaking to see, and
cost
we can
awalnya
already look
6
at
atau
the
lebih
cost of
tapi bisa
Burblefish
ngediskon
only
sendiri kayak
Betul,
Plaza
betul.
Guardian,
Aikido's
kayak
also been
Burblefish.
whiffing on
Yes.
Itu
spells.
kombonya, itu
Sunken
strong
Temple's
point-nya
gonna
di
come down
situ.
to Grandpa
Betul.
Roji this turn, and Aikido's probably
Dan
gonna
kita
be
bisa
forced to
lihat
play
ada
Silent
Burblefish di
Thousands
tangannya
to be able to
Aikado
look for
dia.
more threats.
Tapi spellnya
Dan
masih
This is
sedikit.
kind
Baru 2
of,
spell yang di draw ya.
indicative of Aikido's deck building process here.
Betul.
Tadi baru
Some of
1
the
yang
early
dipakai
game
makanya
cards,
di
some
diskon
of the
jadi
early
6.
portal generators have been cut in favor of going
Tapi
all in on the
Aikado
late game.
ini
We're seeing Plaza
gimana ya?
Guardian and
Untuk
Burblefish
turn
and
5 ini
Riptide
dia
Rex.
nge-skip
And
Betul.
sometimes that means you run into hands like this.
ada
And it
alternatifnya
looks
dia
like, yeah,
mainin
Aikido
group
says,
shot
I need
ke
to make a play
Mariam
here. I'm going to
biar
fire off
si
the group shot for value
Burblefish-nya
just so I
cost-nya
can get
5
down
dan
Lima,
quickly.
dia
bakal
mainin.
mainin ya langsung
And
dimainin
then that
di
will
sini.
generate another spell.
Dan betul
And
saja dimainkan.
hopefully from here it can give Aikido a
Oke,
little bit
sekarang
of
Burblefish-nya
breathing
dapat
room before
ini
the
ya,
Sunken Temple runs away
bonus
with the game.
stats ya. Iya, ya.
Iya.
Picks up another group
Wow.
shot and a
Ngawur.
moon for the Burblefish.
Kuat sih.
So a little bit of elusive pressure coming through.
Oh, Grandpa Roji sudah 1.
Roji updrafts the hand. All
Iya,
of the
udah
cards in
1-0.
hand go back into the deck, are permanently discounted by 1
Dan
mana,
juga ini
and then
Sunken
draws
Temple-nya
same amount of
udah
cards
di-install
plus
gitu di
1
boardnya.
thanks to
Ini
Sunken Temple. Early bird
Aikado
found
nggak punya
and finds
apapun
a
buat
glacier
nge-remove si
vest.
Sunken
Looks
Temple-nya,
like
jadi
he has
Betul.
a little bit of information.
ini
Ini
bakal
setnya
jadi
bisa turun.
advantage bang. Set
Which
juga bisa
is
turun, bisa buat
pretty
nge-handle
irrelevant
si
when
Burblefish.
Gila,
Sunken
sabar ya,
Temple is
dia
in play,
pas loh.
right? Normally it's very great to get that hand information, but when you know that your opponent's going to shuffle everything back, I like the play though. You're aiming for set, you're aiming for karma. Those are some of the most expensive cards in the deck. Formula could protect it, but it just barely misses the set there because there was another 5 mana card in hand. And here on the side of Aikido, we get to
Oke,
see
habis ini
Deathless on the
setnya bisa
side end
narik
Thousand-Tailed, which is a really cool
si
interaction because
Wiggly
really
Bubblefish.
Sinen's a summon effect,
Betul.
so you are going to get that draw
Waduh,
too and that board buff once
Sinennya
this card
dikasih
reads.
Deathless loh dari Dragon Boon.
That is correct. When
Itu
a
artinya
death
kalau
usually
Dia
Sinennya
ngedraw lagi
dibunuh
ya.
bakal hidup lagi
summons
dan
itself
ngedraw
with
lagi.
1
Betul.
Itu ngedraw
HP and
4.
stunned.
Bener-bener
It's really still
imbalance.
those walls keep up the defense. Grandpa Roji's working on a
Gila sih.
value avalanche here.
Atau mungkin
as
bisa
Sunken
dibalikin
Temple
ya.
continues to build up momentum
Tapi
and
tetap
stacking
aja sih.
discounts, but still
Tetap
needs
aja
to
dia
find
naruh lagi
karma
ngedraw lagi
in
ya.
order to really
Betul.
hit maximum
Tapi
overdrive
kayaknya
and
di sini
really
Aikado
end
nggak
the game.
bakal ngedrop.
And Aikido is getting
Oke,
into those
Aikado di sini
turns
bakal
where
ngedrop
Riptide
Lord
Rex is
Broadmain
alive,
buat
Broadmain
ngecoba
can come down,
ngebunuh si
Ngebunuh,
setnya.
Lost
betul.
Guardians can come down in a
Karena
turn,
setnya
and
udah
with the
damage.
trinket trade,
Tapi
that's a
Grandpa
really
Roji
good way
punya
to
proteksi
accelerate
dalam
those
bentuk
reduced
Dibalikin,
cost cards.
yep.
Iya,
That's the problem with karma
di-recall.
set is you really can't end the game before turn 10 barring some incredible circumstances.
Yep,
But
tapi gimana caranya dia
Aikido's
bunuh
got some
si Baron
gas
ya?
in there, Skarzik. What they are lacking is a surefire way to damage the Nexus.
Dia kalau dia enggak dipakai.
Musa is the card of choice.
Dia lebih
Oh,
milih
menarik
buat
malah.
ngedraw.
Now get the portals in
Menarik
there
sekali.
immediately. Going into the
Apa
trinket
next
trade,
round?
looks like Aikido was just mapping out this turn in his head. Picks up another prank as well. Just trying to get the cheap spells
Dan
going.
Grandpa Roji juga
Got out a little
milih
bit of
buat
hand
tidak
information,
pakai
can't burn, but
apa-apa.
Roji finally finds
7 mana
karma
burn,
off of
but
Sunken Temple. Has to
Ya,
find a
tapi
way
karma
to
set
set
mainnya
her
ya
down
memang
in the
sabar
next
gitu.
couple turns.
Iya,
Could be good to go.
karena
Another
mereka nunggu
portal
turn 10
loser
aja
coming
gitu.
through.
Karma di tangan.
Portals now off the
Anjir, dapat
Portalnya ke draw dan
dapat
di sini
spell
Aikado.
Oh man, not only Yadolski but also Domination. While the Husk and the buff to the 1-cost units might not be super impactful, that is another generated unit for the Nora level.
Oh, di sini Aikado itu nge-set
That is
up
valid,
buat
yeah. Nora
dia
can
bakal
level
mainin
up and
double
start
Plaza
getting
Guardian di
Iya,
turn.
betul.
bigger units if this game does go too long. That's going down here
This is so
potentially to
good.
the group shot.
That's going to be a lot of damage.
And Karma still
Kalau
needs to
cuma
find a
ngedrop Broadman
safe
doang kayaknya nggak bakal
move
cukup,
opportunity
makanya dia
to
pakai
enter
Portal
play.
Palooza di
Aikido
last turn.
suddenly going
Udah
Oke.
di set up
no
dari turn
pressure to
sebelumnya
having a
bener-bener.
pretty full
Oh,
full board,
mantap.
and this damage is going to begin to stack up on these open attacks.
Group shot gonna take out the set.
Oke, setnya bakal mati.
Could try to take enough units off the board, and actually it looks like that is gonna be the line. Get this group shot back down to 1 damage since there's only 3 units available. This is going to take away the potential board wipe with the rocket barrage, but a second group shot from Aikedo gonna make sure that set is finished off, and there's just no protection in the hand of Roji. That's the risk you run when you start flowing through your deck with the Sunken Temple. Neither player knows what's gonna come off the top. Your opponent doesn't know
Karma.
what to play around, but you
Oh ya, itu
have that
dibalikin biar
guaranteed
diskon
game
lagi.
plan.
And Mikado, after lacking a bunch of
Gila, itu dapat spell shield.
jumped in Boulevard. Now they're all coming off of the top thanks
Spell
to
shield
Tulis.
dan
The Portal Guardian
Challenger
juga.
is already down
Mantap
to 0.
ini Plaza Guardian-nya.
Oke ya, akhirnya aku lihat betapa kuatnya deck Nora.
Iya.
Oke, aku baru tahu. Oke, kuat, astaga. Itu Deathless lagi, oh my god.
It is a monster of a keyword combination.
Once these get a couple
Gila
reps
sih.
of attacking, you get
Gila.
for
0 mana
the rest of
66.
eternity, and that's what's going to happen now to Grandpa Roji.
Yang satu Fearsome, yang satu
Dan satu
Challenger.
Deathless
Mantap.
ngedraw lagi. Ini kalah sih Grandpa Roji sih.
Kemungkinan, tapi kita nggak bisa
Iya sih,
menyepelekan
iya sih.
powernya
Iya,
Karma di turn 10
betul,
gitu.
betul. Masih 2 round lagi by the way. Dan karmanya
Betul.
ke masuk lagi ke deck ya.
Iya, ke shuffle lagi juga. Iya.
Dan di tangannya tuh masih ada Broadmin, masih ada. Dan ini kan dapat draw lagi si Aikido. Si Aikado.
Iya, betul. By the way, Bento, lu familiar nggak sama dua player ini?
Aku pernah denger sih Aikado, Grandpa Roji yang agak jarang. Kenapa?
Grandpa Roji itu dia top 8 di World 2022 dan Aikado itu yang top 8 di World 2021. Dua-duanya streamer di Twitch juga.
Oke.
Kadang-kadang sering nangkring bareng.
Oh, mantap.
Iya, jadi kebetulan gua sering nangkring aja gitu.
Oke, ini dapat heal.
And now you've built up enough room to just go for this early bird. At the end of the day,
Boardnya penuh.
Iya.
Tapi nggak ada attack token doang. Dan di sini Aikado bisa milih buat ngediscard cost tertinggi sekalian ngintip gitu. Ada cost tertinggi di tangannya Grandpa Roji itu berapa mana? Dan kita di sini bisa melihat Smooth Mixologist yang 4 mana bakal didiscard dari early bird ini.
Betul.
Dan di sini Aikado dapat informasi bahwa kartu tertinggi di tangannya Grandpa Roji.
Oh, mananya 4.
Iya, mananya 4 atau
Berarti
kurang gitu.
Berarti nggak ada set, nggak ada karma.
Kecuali mereka didiskon dari Sunken Temple. Ini emang Sunken Temple itu kalau lengket di board itu bakalan apa ya? Semua yang lu tahu tentang mana cost itu hilang aja. Bakalan didiskon. Jadi lu tahu-tahu kena karma 3 mana atau set 3 mana gitu.
Bener. Ini gimana cara menangnya round berikutnya?
Iya, boardnya Aikado ini menyeramkan.
Iya.
Butuh tag out, butuh conclusive palm kalau misalnya mereka nggak ke shuffle.
Betul. Kalau dia ke draw lagi ya.
Grandpa Roji sebenarnya bisa nge-take beberapa damage gitu ya, asal gak mati gitu. Kayak misalnya nge-take 10 damage living at 6 bisa. Tapi kalau misalnya Aikado bisa ngaktifin Plunder, Riptide Rex juga bisa jadi finisher ini.
Betul. Tapi
berbahaya.
Ya, dengan stun, dengan balikin ya mungkin ya dengan di recall dia bisa cuma terima. Ya, yang penting kan bertahan hidup ya.
Bertahan hidup dulu. Oke. Oke, that's a take out. That's a mystic shot that can help.
Oke, deny. Oke, karma.
That's a stun.
Karma di round.
Kayaknya Aikado nggak bakal ngebolehin si Grandpa Roji buat nyempetin ngedrop karma deh. Jadi yang di sini bakal dilakuin sama Grandpa Roji adalah stun dan recall dan mystic shot.
Oke.
Cuma dapat 2 damage.
Oh, tapi kan dia punya koin. Bisa nggak ya?
Grandpa Roji cuma bakal ngedrop karmanya kalau Riptide Rex udah turun. Soalnya selama Aikado ngerepresentasi 8 mana, karmanya Grandpa Roji bakal langsung dijawab gitu, bakal langsung di-answer sama Riptide Rex.
Oke, dia cuma kena 2 damage.
think we're going to see an well, okay, so throughout the weekend we will probably see at least one Elder Dragon level up from Nora Elder, but it's definitely not what the deck was designed
Bakal
to be
pas
doing,
sih.
right? Aikedo having these two Plaza Guardians that have been sent into combat a couple of times
Jadi di
is
sini bakal sabar
definitely
ini kedua player ini.
accelerating to that.
Betul.
But what I want to see from Aikedo now is actually
No, Grand Paroji
a
lagi
fish with the
lagi
early bird.
mikir, ngitung
See
dia.
if you can hit a karma out of your opponent's
Si
hand.
Grand Paroji
If
ini
you
bisa
can,
mainin
then
early
maybe throw
bird
the
dan
clear the board.
unit yang 2 mana
Otherwise,
atau 0 mana,
maybe you can just
tapi
go
nggak
ahead
bisa
and,
tap under, nggak bisa
yeah,
ke
actually, I'm gonna go
bawah
for the fish.
8
I
mana.
like this a lot.
Tapi early birdnya tapi bakal nge-discard karma. Ada
Karma,
opsinya
betul.
2. Antara nge-discard clocknya atau karma. Di sini ada Nopify. Oke, cancel that. Tapi di sini berarti
Karmanya
Grand
bakal
Paroji
turun.
Perihal karma bakal turun atau enggak?
Oh enggak. Oke.
Masih
Oke,
tetap ini,
dipancing
dalam-
dulu sama Aikedo.
No,
Iya,
probably not.
mainin dulu Barbell Face-nya, mainin dulu Conchologies-nya atau Nora. Dan selama ada 8 mana, Riptide Rex itu Grand Paroji nggak bakal ngedrop karmanya. Dan
Betul.
kemungkinan
Nah, sekarang baru di drop karmanya.
Oke, mainin benar.
Oke.
Aikedo nggak nahan, biasanya dia pemain sabar, tapi oke.
Oke. Karma turun.
Karma turun, attack token di tempatnya Grand Paroji. Kita bakal lihat spell
Kita lihat
slinging
betul.
in action.
And Conchologist has just been there the whole time.
Aduh,
Conchologist has been in
senyum-senyum,
so many
Aikedo.
scary decks over the course of Runeterra.
Oh shit, karmanya turun.
Ini bakal jadi 2-0 kalau kemungkinan besar bakal jadi 2-0 ini.
Kalau dia karmanya bisa ngedraw yang draw 2 sama koin.
Kita lihat dulu. Flurry of Fish, it's not really helping, tidak terlalu membantu.
Take out.
Augmented Clockmaking itu bisa.
Ignite, oke.
Even if there was a set, because
Kita lihat dulu
Circuit
dapat apa dari Clockmaking. Apakah
Karma.
ada Pleasure Bed?
spend enough
Karma
mana
kedua
because
itu bisa
everything
jadi
is so
Insight of
reduced
Ages.
on cost.
Nah betul,
Not bad.
dia bisa
Get the
ngedraw
showstopper.
spell.
Only has 10 mana per turn,
buat
regardless,
spell
has a couple
di
of
tangan.
generators, but this is
Yes.
not looking like a good comeback, and this is one of the big problems with Karma is that when you look at a lot of your spells, you don't actually do too much by doubling them up.
Oke, ini apa namanya setup buat Broadman. Nah. Dia pasti bakal pakai spellnya dia dulu.
Dapat apa aja ini? Entrancing Lure, Salvage Scrap, Partmate. Oke, Partmate Hole is not bad, but mananya kurang ini Grand Paroji buat nggak ada buat mana refill ini. Sayang sekali. Jadi ini Aikedo bakal nurunin Lord Broadman-nya dan Grand Paroji satunya cara buat nge-save si karmanya adalah dengan recall dari take out.
Betul.
And if a big bomb were regenerated, something like Singular Will, the Plaza Guardians of Zero.
Dia tinggal lomba sabar-sabaran aja nih.
It's just a threat that
Betul.
cannot be stopped the way.
Tapi Aikedo di advantage soalnya dia punya boardnya itu ada 2 Plaza Guardian lah. Ini bakal jadi Riptide Rex kedua
Betul.
dengan Perilous Pastry. Dan Roji juga tap out juga ini udah nggak bisa replay
Nggak bisa
karmanya
replay,
ini.
betul. Dia tahu, Roji sudah tahu, dia bakal keluarin Riptide Rex. Dia pasti bakal pas.
Dan Riptide Rex-nya turun, boardnya hangus. Dan Aikedo bisa open attack untuk representasi 6, 12, 14, 22, 29 total damage dari boardnya sendiri.
Tapi ada ini nggak ya? Masih ada spell stun atau recallan lagi nggak ya?
Kita bisa
Sudah
lihat di sini ada 2
kepake
take out.
berapa tadi? Udah semua kayak kepake tadi ya.
Masih ada di tangan dan kemungkinan bisa ke draw lagi ini yang di macam take out gitu.
Oke, take outnya
Kita lihat
ada
aja.
2. Oke, karmanya dikasih mati. Oke, ini nggak bakal diapa-apain. Udah pasti pas. Ya, Roji hanya berdoa. Oke.
Take out cuma 1 kurang membantu dan ada jamur juga.
Aduh,
Kena jamur random dan
Oh, udah
jamurnya
menang.
1 lagi.
Kedraw, udah menang. Udah menang. Kelihatan
No
dia.
way. The bursting backpack is actually MVP dan skornya satu sama loh.
Iya, satu sama. Ya sama-sama menang ini ya.
Nah,
Kayak
gue nggak tahu apa yang
Aikado-nya
di
di-ban
Grand
apa ini ya?
Ya itu dia gue nggak tahu. Apakah ini untuk game ketiga kita bakal ngeliat Karma Mirror, Set Mirror? Bukan, ini Mordekaiser.
Iya, Mordekaiser sama
Gue cek dulu.
Morgana. Karena sama Demacia.
Betul.
Yes. Kalau Morgana, ini Mariam Temple pasti di keep. Yang penting dia udah bisa bunuh Mordekaisernya aja. Oh enggak, dibuang Mariam ya. Sunken Temple-nya ke draw lagi dong. Tapi dia punya 3 mana itu? Siapa namanya itu ya?
3 mana? Oh yang ngasih deadless ke tangan itu?
Explorer.
Oh Explorer
Ya,
ya.
buat ngancurin landmark. Buat ngancurin Sunken Temple.
Betul. Tapi Grand Paroji juga punya proteksi dalam bentuk Notify.
Oh iya,
Sudah
iya,
dipersiapkan
betul,
juga
betul,
itu.
betul, betul. Bakal pas, kalau masuk 2 damage. Terus, oke, pas. Dia bakal ngasih deathless ke ini ya, dia bakal sabar nunggu buat ngedraw atau enggak dia bakal ngasih deathless-nya ke Mordekaiser.
Deathless itu targetnya di deck ini ada 3 yang bagus. Rekindler, Mordekaiser, sama suppressor gitu yang si 4 mana Demacia. Lu apa itu namanya gue lupa.
Ya.
Yang ngasih suppression itu.
Kok aku senengnya ngasih ke ini ya, yang 6 mana kalau ngekill dia summon apa?
Oh bisa juga ke yang itu yang
situ.
nge-summon 84 kan?
Betul.
Itu juga bagus sebenarnya.
Oke, sekarang setnya bakal turun kayaknya, atau dia bakal
ini sih bakal
ini bakal di Mystic Shot sih.
Oh enggak. Dia bakal terima 6 damage ini. Soalnya Grand Paroji mikir buat
Oh, dipakai kan?
Oh, menarik. Soalnya gua kira dia bakal ngedrop Sunken Temple.
Terus dia bakal simpan buat Notify.
Ya, simpan 2 mananya buat Notify. Tapi gua juga baru nyadar ternyata Aikado-nya belum mainin si Explorer-nya. Jadi kalau misalnya si Roji-nya ini kepikiran buat drop Temple dan Aikado-nya nge-save Pioneer, ini bakal hancur ini Temple.
Betul.
Gua kira tuh dia bakal ngesimpen gitu 2 mananya. Sedikit gegabah tapi resiko yang dia terima.
Ya bakal pas. Soalnya dia mikir daripada dia terima 6 damage ya. Sakit juga loh kalau dia terima 6 damage.
Bisa.
Oh, dipaskan. Ya, setnya juga nggak mau dimainin. Dia main sabar banget si Grand Paroji. Ya karena
nunggu proteksi dia.
Iya, karena sebenarnya juga dia nggak butuh naruh apa-apa juga kan. Karena buat lawannya Aikado juga cuma begitu. Nah, sekarang dia bisa naruh Sunken Temple. Oke, set.
Dan set di sini bisa diproteksi dengan tag out. No problem. Dan untuk progresnya masih 25 lagi, berarti sekitar 3 turn lagi ini. 7, 8, 9 ya, 25 mana. Untuk level up si setnya. Dan level up set itu berpengaruh banget buat
bakal turun si Mordekaisernya harusnya.
Iya, tapi kalau misalnya setnya level up dan punya si showstopper, Mordekaisernya kan bakal di-obliterate nih.
Ya betul.
Karena hitungannya obliterasi, dia nggak bakal hidup lagi dari Rekindler gitu. Karena bukan mati, tapi obliterated.
Betul. Jadi,
oh
ini dibalikin. Bakal di kill sendiri.
But it looks like it's actually
Betul.
going to be okay, Aikedo going to sack the
Tapi
Mordekaiser
ada
to take out the
interupsi
Cecil
lagi
Sentry. That's going to
Nopify,
be countered by
mantap.
Nopify. And that was Aikedo just
Tapi
trying to set up for a very strong
nggak
rekindler
bisa,
turn.
jadinya nggak bisa
Again,
ngelindungin
Mordekaiser
Sunken
both on
Temple ya.
level 1 and level 2 will reanimate anything that you self-slay. So if Aikedo had that mana available, 8 mana, they can go Rekindler into Mordekaiser.
Kayaknya udah terlalu telat buat ngedrop Sunken Temple-nya juga sih.
Betul.
Mordekaiser would reanimate that, bringing out another Mordekaiser.
And even on that interaction,
Gila ya, ngeliatin mereka main bisa sabar banget. Kalau aku main nggak sabar loh. Mungkin beda ya, karena aku mainnya di ranked kali ya, jadi nggak yang kayak panisnya tuh nggak yang parah gitu loh. Ngerti kan maksudnya?
Ngerti emang. Ya mungkin karena setelan decknya juga, kalau misalnya Bang Bento itu biasanya main deck apa?
Saya suka
Apa yang
midrange.
proaktif? Oh, midrange.
Ya.
Kalau midrange emang nggak bisa sabar, kalau emang punya potensi buat naikin tempo di board ya gas aja gitu.
Iya. Saya suka midrange.
Betul.
Main kontrol agak-agak kadang sering misplay. Salah perhitungan kalau main kontrol.
Emang susah ini kontrol.
Paling nggak bisa main agro.
Ya.
Kenapa kok aku nggak bisa main agro? Karena kebiasaan midrange kan. Jadi kebiasaan value trade. Lawan ngetek itu aku blok-blokin. Jadi kan rugi ya.
Iya. Harusnya dihindarian kayak gitu.
Nah, karena agro kan dia terimalah masuk gitu kan. Ya tapi nggak bisa. Jiwa saya tidak boleh kena damage ya.
Betul.
Maksudnya karena kalau biasa midrange kan unitnya gede-gede, dia value trade kan. Gimana caranya nge-trade sambil nunggu ini kan?
Sambil nunggu momen yang pas
ya.
Gitu, finisher.
Ini karma nggak mungkin ditaruh sampai attack.
Oke, ini Grand Paroji bisa level up si setnya dengan formula into suppression into berapa mana lagi yang butuh? Oh, 2 mana lagi. Apakah dia bisa ngeluarin obliterationnya on fast speed? Enggak juga. Jadi ini bakal formula suppression into conclusive palm, dia dapat showstopper. Showstoppernya bisa dipakai ke Mordekaiser ini. Biar Mordekaisernya obliterated. Kemungkinan.
Berarti nggak mainin karma di turn ini ya?
Yang penting ya enggak. Sebenarnya valid juga buat mainin karma di turn ini, soalnya Grand Paroji itu belum tentu belum tentu bakal dapat karma lagi.
Dan dia kalau dia attack, kalau Mordekaiser attack baru bakal ditaruh karmanya sih.
Betul.
Dia nunggu mancing attack dulu nih. Bakal ditarik dan nggak bakal mati kan. Ini paling nggak di stun 1, di stun terus karmanya turun.
Sebenarnya karmanya bisa dijawab dari tangan Aikedo. Itu ada spell yang gua kira itu spell yang 3 mana yang 5 gitu.
Itu kan Mordekaiser itu. Itu kan spellnya ini.
Morgana betul.
You could take the hit, put him down to 1, hope that the death realm later in
Oh,
the game
dibalikin.
can
Oke,
activate and
menarik
get you
sekali.
that 1 damage off of a slay later. But Roji can't really develop here unless they unshackle set first, because Morgana's attack trigger is going to shackle whatever the strongest non-shackled unit is.
Ini sih Grand Paroji bisa menang sih. Udah jadi tangannya.
But now with Mordekaiser being sent back to the hand, Aikado's gonna have to find a different answer to get this thing off the board before Showstopper comes through. It's an obliterate. So we'll begin
dia bisa ini sih bunuhin Mordekaiser sendiri sih. Biar bisa dihidupin.
Betul. Ada glimpse beyond itu valid itu.
Ya.
Apakah bakal dilakukan? Kemungkinan bisa. Tapi kalau dilakuin berarti Grand Paroji di sini bisa enggak harus tetap nungguin si Morgananya attack biar si karmanya nggak di curse terus mati.
Betul.
Dari attack effect.
Tapi kena 7, 9, 11 damage ya.
Aikado probably just thinking about whether or not they want
Bang,
to
facecamnya
use
taruh di bawah
their
kanan aja
hooks
tuh.
beyond here, maybe get some additional
Bingung.
value out of the
Tadi
ceaseless
taruh di
entries
bawah
since
kanan, suruh
whatever.
taruh di
Oh, actually gonna
kiri.
do it onto the Mordekaiser. Says, I'm tired of playing this game with you.
Kenapa Roji
Ya,
berpikir
Trigger my
keras?
hand. I want
Oke,
one of these to
bentar,
be in the death
bentar.
pool for my Rekindler
Sip.
combos.
Taruh
Very
kanan
smart.
bawah
Very,
tuh.
very smart.
Geser
Atau
dikit.
nggak perlu facecamku.
Play 2 for 1.
Mukaku kan
Kanan bawah aja nggak
penting
apa-apa
ya.
deh. Kanan bawah biasanya kosong. Kanan bawah kosong.
Great against Grandpa
Yeah.
Roji. And then once you have Rekindler in play alongside
Dikasih
Mordekaiser,
masuk,
the
oke.
potential to irreparably snowball the game in your favor is huge.
Karmanya
This is-
turun ini.
It's not a safe karma from Roji. There is the possibility of the
Bener ya,
husk
tadi
spell from Aikado, but
dibunuhin sendiri ya.
Aikado doesn't have it. If Roji throws
Mordekaisernya ya.
will stick,
Pakai
and then
Glimpse
Karma
Beyond,
and
betul.
Ya.
set, the main win conditions of the deck are
Oh,
assembled.
nggak
Roji
bakal
doesn't
ngedrop
even have to
karma.
take the shackles
Atau
because
mungkin
one
koinnya
of the
cukup.
ways
Ini
to
berapa
get
koin
rid of
ini?
curses
Enggak,
is to
baru
shuffle
satu.
them back with Sunken
Oh, baru
Temple.
satu. Iya ya,
You can't
bener-bener
be
pakai
targeting
Terus-
sangetnya
terus
baru.
something gets rid of your entire hand, then they
ngapain di
will
ini
just
ya?
go back to the deck.
Ngapain dia?
And Roji just makes the call
Nggak
now
tahu
for
apa
smooth
dia cuma
mixologist,
buat
get some
setnya level up doang atau
stabilization,
gimana,
get
aku nggak
another
ngerti
body
deh.
in play. Doesn't
Kenapa
want
Ya,
dia
itu
play
cuma buat
kayak
the
gini
hate
ya?
spike, and that karma's gonna get shuffled back into
Sebenarnya
the deck, making
si
it
Green
come
Paraji
back
ini
and
takut
be a
kalau
bit
misalnya dia
cheaper.
ngedrop karma terus dijawab sama Aikado yang masih punya
I
2
see a
mana sama
Karma,
Hate
I
Spike
see a set,
yang deal 3
Oh,
damage
oke.
gitu.
15 mana.
Iya.
This is Roji's big comeback potential turn. There's really
Dan
not
ini
much
dia karmanya
interaction
turun
Oke,
nih.
with Aikado
karma
either.
udah turun.
And I'd have to double check his specific list. There's only a handful of players that are running the Morgana Mordekaiser and also
Oke, kombonya sudah keluar.
as just a
Itu ada
fail-safe.
koin,
You
ada
can't
draw.
really even confidently extend
Tangannya masih
the
rada
spell
sedikit
like
penuh
that.
sih
Ionia.
sebenarnya.
Aikado
Betul.
Roji's gonna
Call
call
that out.
that ruination.
Yeah,
Says,
now
you know what?
with place your bets, it's a great call, even if you don't have deny in hand, right? To just say, okay, well, I'll just draw 4 or 6 cards and get it anyway.
And now, I mean, we talked about it. Aikado's got that Mordekaiser in the death pool. The Rekindler would reanimate it, but there's no slay spells in the hand for Aikado. The only point of combo potential they have is the Darkened Halberd, and that's sort of a one and done.
Mm-hmm.
Oke.
Handler comes through, Mordekaiser's in
Mordekaiser
play.
harus dibunuh
This also
ini
another fork for
karena
Roji if I
berbahaya.
answer this Rekindler, then Aikado's gonna, kill the Rekindler and revive with Mordekaiser, get that summon effect again. Roji's a little bit incentivized to try to keep this board a little full and awkward, but at the same time, it's a huge risk.
Full
on his
lagi
part.
mananya.
Back to 13 mana for
Anjir,
Grandpa
anjir.
Roji. The coin karma interaction has been a menace all
Combo
year
klasik
with
ini.
this list is being
Masalahnya
shown in
Pak
full
Roji
force
gak ada
here.
heal nexus nih. Ada itu yang mana 4 itu.
Ada, mixologist ada itu di
Ya betul, ada mixologist.
And it just never fully lined up where Set and Karma could be on the field at the same time. And with Sunken Temple as well, it's going to guarantee that Grandpa Roji has access to monstrous amounts of resources to take full
Oke,
advantage of
kenapa
both
dia
of these champions.
bunuhin Mordekaiser ya?
And now
Karena
Ya
Aikado
BTW
Mordekaisernya-
BTW tetap bisa dihidupin lagi sih karena dia sudah mati basically.
Iya, udah
Ya,
mati.
udah mati.
Jadi-
Jadi tetap aja mau di obliterate atau apa, recliner tetap bisa ngidupin lagi Mordekaisernya. Jadi
Iya.
jadi ya makanya kenapa nggak dibunuh sekalian mungkin gitu ya mikirnya ya.
Betul,
all of their
betul.
board here. And this is not a deck with like incredible refuel potential. Tarash could
Pat
get played next turn.
mati.
Roji's going to lose their entire hand to Temple, so maybe that's something you could try and sneak through.
Timernya
And
udah sampai 2
whenever
menit lagi.
Aikado sets up a threat,
Lu familiar nggak dengan konsep timer di competitive matches?
Familiar. Ini kalau waktunya habis, Grandpa Roji kalah ini. Tapi
Oh,
kalau
enggak, kita masuk dulu 5 menit overtime gitu.
Masih ada
5 menit
overtime-nya
tambahan.
ya. Iya, iya.
Iya. Dan baru kalau misalnya overtime-nya habis, yang timernya paling negatif,
negatif
dia
betul.
kalah.
Aikato's quickly running out of ways to continuously replenish these threats or keep the mana and cards up for those interactions to be meaningful.
Anjir,
There's the
anjir,
showstopper and so many
kebuang.
coins that Roji says, you know what, turn 1 was great, I got to play a Karma. Turn 2 was cool, I played even more cards. Let's see what turn number
Oke.
3
Di sini
feels
Roji
like
bakal
for me, and goes
nyobain
straight
buat
back to
ngebunuh
10
si
mana
Aikado
from
di
1.
turn ini.
Ya betul.
Showstopper is doubled. It
Bisa sih kayaknya.
obliterates the initial target
Sangat
and
bisa.
then deals
Boardnya
1
clear.
damage to the
Boardnya
rest of
clear,
the
betul.
board, including their
Rojinya
nexus.
ada 5,
This is going
8,
to wipe
13,
the
16
entire
power.
board.
Ditambah Mystic Shot di double
5,
sama Karma
8,
itu 20.
13, 16, 16. Dia bisa turunin si ini dulu.
Clockling juga bisa,
Ya.
Mariam juga bisa.
Swinging back with Karma set. a deck. It was like night and day. In game
Sangat
number 2,
bisa
it seemed
untuk
like the deck was
di-finish
really
di
doing
turn
much
ini.
anything, and suddenly once it gets the
Di
matchup
stun
that
dan
it
juga
wants,
dapat 2 koin lagi yang
Betul.
ditranslate di double jadi
Terus dia
karma
bisa
jadi
ngedraw
4
juga.
It's really close to lethal
Dapat
here.
koin
Roji's
lagi.
got 16 damaging units in play with the Mystic Shot in hand, so all they
Ini
need
Grandpa
to
Roji
do
turn
is
ini udah
clear out
ngeluarin
all of
100
Aikado's
mana
blockers for
kayaknya.
the remainder of the turn, which might just be possible
Refill
given
terus,
the
refill
Karma set
terus.
bomb and how little mana is left on the side of
Oke,
Aikado.
the
I
power
know there's
of
only 3
karma set
seconds left
ya.
on the clock, but don't worry, there is 5
Iya.
minutes of overtime,
Yeah.
so this one should not be an issue for the clock. I believe Grandpa Roji is just going to be able to finish it off right here, right now, Scarzi.
Ya, udah menang nih.
Yep, there's even place your bets. The concussive palm getting more blockers. Aikado does not have any more blockers from this side. And it's
Apakah
going to
itu?
be a full swing
Dibunuhin
for
sendiri kayaknya.
lethal once all of these spells resolve.
Tapi tetap
Oh ya, oke.
kesaman.
This is still early on
Enggak,
in the
enggak. Kalau
tournament.
misalnya
This
Enggak ya?
dibunuh
Oh, iya,
itu
iya,
enggak
iya.
kesaman.
day one is
Iya, iya.
Swiss.
Tapi tetap mati.
Gonna come out on top
Tetap
for
mati.
this one.
Tetap nggak ada
And it
blocker.
was
Loh. Jangan dong. Mending
Iya,
Mystic
jangan.
Shot
Nanti
4
nggak bisa
damage.
koin.
Iya. Nggak bisa koin, nggak bisa Mystic Shot.
You know what? Maybe I'll need the Mystic Shot because I'm not actually getting these concussive
Koin
bombs off.
dulu bisa. Ya 16
Oh
sih.
enggak, ini bakal
Ya
Mystic
udah
Shot
menang.
post
Dia tinggal di
combat
Mystic
ini.
Shot
Udah
aja
menang.
menang.
Sets down to 2 HP. And
2
there's
lagi
double
Mystic
Mystic
Shotnya.
Shot
Mantap.
for the
Dan
finale.
GG dan Grandpa Roji bakal lanjut ke
Number 3.
semuanya bakal lanjut ini ke ronde 2 di Swiss. Mantap, mantap.
Oke, Roji yang menang. Aikado menarik nafas dalam. Karma set anjir gitu deh. Aku penasaran Runeterra ini yang menang siapa, woi.
Wah,
woi.
Itu di Excel kayaknya ada ini dah, ada upper bracket, lower bracket, Swiss leaderboardnya itu.
Oh, ini apa namanya? Up to date ya, langsung ya.
Up to date, up to date.
Waduh.
Itu di yang kiri atasnya ada Swiss leaderboard. Bisa
Karma
dicek.
gila sih. Iya, langsung ya one swing ya.
Untuk
What is going on right now, Spids?
It was a very, very interesting matchup. Not what I was expecting to see.
Green
from the
Slimy
first round. I
kalah
don't think
sama
Earlier Soul
Chenia,
was on
dia.
anyone's radar,
Aduh,
but
Green
we saw
Slimy
Aikado
Unfortunately.
sort of made
Dia
sense in
skornya
how
itu
it played.
ada
Earlier Soul deck is able to be
2-1.
really, really
2-1,
greedy,
oke.
and we saw
2-1.
going into that ramp and getting into that
Ya Green Slime itu kalau turnamen dia nggak hoki kayaknya.
Kurang hoki.
Dia di leaderboard bagus.
We saw 3 pretty important draws come through there. So it felt like there was just so much value on the board after you were able to get that 12 mana spell rolling. But even though we didn't get a chance to see a lot of
Gak apa-apa,
that,
masih ada
we did
kesempatan.
get a chance to move forward into what felt like such an exciting matchup versus Aikado and Grandpa Roji. We hopped in for that game number 2.
Majin B apa kabar, kok nggak tahu nih. Green Slime orang mana emang bang? Orang Indonesia, orang Malang dia.
Really, really interesting
Betul.
to watch because what happened at turn 5, we've seen Aikado have very poor turn, no tempo at all, where this is matchup about getting some tempo. And when we've seen from the Roji side, he had the best possible turn, which is Sunken Temple, and there was absolutely no interaction, and it created a landmark removal. So like Roji was looking very confident in that spot, but what happened? He was just lacking a completely board presence, where
Oh, masih ada yang belum selesai.
Six drops, and the crucial interaction was getting deathless on his
Siapa yang belum
side.
selesai?
So when the
NNT
deathless,
space
was traded
sama how
to the
ya,
one
ini
of
overtime ini.
Roji's units, he redrew
Menarik.
even more.
Tank Buster, Grandpa Roji, oke. KD free roll menang, wow, nice. Salah satu jagoanku menang. Majin B menang.
Like buffing his farther line of the attack.
Loh, ini
was
mana?
Really, really good from the
Siapa?
Aikado turn.
Yeah, and I mean, if you pull it back even further,
Di page
Aikado
2 mungkin.
Runeterra.
sort of bricky
Di page
looking
2, di page
unit,
2 itu.
ended up having,
Menang
like,
lawan
2
Aragorn
turns
tadi.
ago,
Menang,
one of
menang.
these big units that the
Iya, iya.
Thomas deck
2-0.
wasn't able to interact with, and then wasn't able to chump block either. Because
Iya,
as we were
2-0.
saying, there weren't that many units
Oke.
in that deck. Everything that Aikado needed.
15 FPS menang. Iya, menang loh Runeterra ya.
Ya, buat yang di
GG,
chat yang
2-0.
mau yang di chat yang mau lihat bracketnya bisa ke sini. Silakan.
Oh iya nih.
Grandpa Roji here.
And so after that game, we ended up seeing Aikado tie up the series. So Grandpa Roji and Aikado both had 1 game apiece.
Lucky
So
Cat
it
nggak
came
turni
down
kah?
to that final
Enggak,
matchup
Lucky Cat
where,
nggak turni.
let's be
Lucky
honest,
Cat
Grandpa
bukan
Roji was off to
orang
a
turni
pretty
ya,
rough
bukan
start
orang
there,
kompetitif dia.
Spids.
Iya, content creator dia.
Dia content creator, betul.
definitely had some troubles with what they were trying to go for, and again, like struggling.
Gila,
with units. They
Runeterra
ended
menang
up
lawan
bringing it
Aragon
back
loh.
and winning with a bunch of units in the
Kuat
field, so it
mentalnya.
seems to be a good
Xenia
complain
ya
about that, but
21.
having units is really, really important. There's no pit professional in this deck, as
Grid
opposed to what
Slimy
the comments
kalah.
old, which I think is like a big reason why that happened. But
Floppy
there was lots of
Mudkip.
weird hand states here. Ikato not having any like self-sack cards in the last turn to try and like get the Rekindler back, get the Mordekaiser to do things, it's just so sad.
Oke,
to see.
KD free roll menang yang penting.
Yeah, it comes
Mantap.
down usually to like if as Ionia player
2-0 lagi menangnya kan?
do you have the recall for my Mordekaiser? Do you not have recall? And then if there is some sort of interaction that comes down with from the Mordekaiser, like some sort of sacrifice spell. And
Egg of Dragon bisa summon ED kan, kalau Hoki bisa dong, kan dia ED naga.
Exactly what happened.
Betul.
Ini kalau kalah pulang Bang belum, ini Swiss ya. Yang kalah 3 kali udah nggak mungkin lolos.
Ya ada 7 ronde ini.
Ya, jadi maksimal harus kalah cuma 2 kali. Skornya 5-2.
Betul.
Dan 5-2 itu nanti nggak tahu ya dilihat dari mananya ya. Yang bisa lolos atau enggak gitu ya. Dari poin biasa ada poin tersendirinya.
Betul.
Yang pulang itu besok. Besok udah double elimination. Dari upper bracket ada lower bracket. Nah, itu nanti yang kalah di lower bracket yang pulang ya.
Sort of like checkmate positions. You've got Mordekaiser on the field. You're trying to checkmate the opponent by saying, "You want to interact with me? I'm going to get my Rekindler back," and that your interaction has become my tempo swing. Trying to find a situation where you can do that is your aim, but against a deck like Karma Set, it just doesn't work because you're not dealing with damage-based interaction. You're dealing with things like recalls, which are a little bit more expensive, not able to do what they need to do as effectively, which means that reaction pieces are better. You're also trying to target some of these other like mid-range decks that also they attack into you just self-sack, and then you get your units back. That's what this deck's trying to go for, and we just didn't see it happen enough in that game. It happened once, but not twice.
The key cards in this matchup are like getting Legion of the Severed into the Mexican Inquisitor into Morgana, just trying to tax the absolutely maximum out of all those
Ngomong apa Lansky?
not let them get back into the game and just get your big boys.
Sedang
like
menunggu ronde 2 ya.
Betul. Karena dia belum selesai itu.
To wait and find out how many other matchups we get a chance to see in action for this Mordekaiser Morgana. Even just looking at the set list here for Ikato and Grandpa Roji, the deck list looked really similar, at least the lineups did. So, Alan, do you expect
Sunny main gak Bang? Enggak, Sunny itu
Sunny nggak main.
By the way, Sunny itu bikin cameo tadi waktu opening di World Championship. Dia yang jadi narator waktu jelasin format.
I just bring the good decks, the power creep decks, and the players bringing the counters to this. So yeah, the most players will go for the consistency, definitely. But I'm expecting to see a lot of spice up. The players maybe bring some Caitlyn Timo, and the mushroom finish them off like
Caitlyn
we've
Timo.
seen happen to
Yang
Roach,
enggak lah.
just back to the mushrooms.
Kalau nggak salah ada yang bawa Caitlyn Timo. JO1 coba gua cek dulu ya.
Apakah mau komentar jadi caster juga? Waduh, kayaknya yang udah ada sekarang sih.
Oh enggak sih. Siapa yang bawa Timo tadi itu? Kayaknya ada gitu yang bawa. Caitlyn Timo tuh ada dari Chal.
Luar biasa sekali ya. Itu
Nomor 13 itu di Microsoft Excel.
Itu nggak mau menang atau mau nge-meme doang deh.
Kayaknya dia bawa Timo Caitlyn itu buat nge-counter Karma Set yang draw-nya berlebihan.
Ah, ya.
Jadi ya bagus aja kalau buat ada rencananya gitu.
Tapi kalau cuma satu deck doang yang buat counter, satu decknya lagi nggak bisa lolos, dia kan susah juga. Tapi nggak tahu lagi.
Iya. Bisa dibikin 3 line up khusus buat ngebully Karma Set, bisa.
Tapi kalau nggak lawan yang bawa Karma Set,
ya sedikit
agak susah. Oke, 4 menit lagi. Ya ini kalau turnamen tuh yang kurang enak nunggu gini ya. Bener. Tunggu Grappler bawa Timo ke World. Grappler nggak bakal masuk. Udah konten kreator tuh nggak bakal masuk guys. Kalian tahu kenapa ya? Konten kreator itu nggak bakal day one master. Itu nggak mungkin. Karena beda. Kalau memang yang tugasnya ngeleder gitu ya, dia akan pakai deck terkuat di mana orang-orang masih nyoba-nyoba deck. Dia sudah pakai deck yang udah jadi gitu ya, deck aggro kayak atau deck apa, dia bakal nge-push biar dia menang terus dan cepet ke master. Baru dia akan nyoba-nyoba deck, mungkin pakai deck meta segala macem untuk dia naik terus. Sedangkan kalau content creator, dia akan terus memakai deck yang berbeda agar bisa dimasukin ke YouTube. Kalau dia pakai deck yang sama terus atau deck yang kurang menarik, ya misalkan Lucky Cat gitu, kamu suruh pakai deck meta terus nggak gede dia, karena dia suka buat deck yang aneh-aneh kan. Bayangin aja kalian bisa masukin bisa main apa namanya aduh bentar. Lurk itu Rek'Sai sama Pike. Nah, dia bisa bawa Pike bukan di deck Lurk. Kompetitif nggak? Enggak. Asik nggak buat dilihat di konten, lumayan. Orang-orang penasaran, nih kok bisa ya begitu tuh. Gitu guys. Ya tapi si Majin B, ya dia memang sering nge-push sih.
Majin B itu emang pemain kompetitif dia. Dia
Betul.
sempat juara di Open Championship juga.
Betul. Ayo kita lihat mentalnya si itu, juara tahun lalu sudah kalah 2-0. Sedih loh kalau 2-0 loh. Oke lah, kalau Great Slimy nggak lolos, semoga KDF reroll lolos. Oke, go reroll. Oke, kita istirahat dulu, balik dulu 1 menit lagi ya. Ntar gue mau minum dulu. Juara tahun lalu siapa bang? Itu yang tadi ngelawan si Runeterra. Siapa namanya itu? Aragorn, nah itu Aragorn. Ntar ya, aku mau caw dulu sebentar, 1 menit.
Sip.
Oke.
Toilet break dulu ya.
But I also hope to see at least one
Okay,
huge
we are
weird deck that's only got, like,
back.
3 people bringing it. Hopefully we can see that as well.
So we got a little bit of a glimpse at the Aurelian Soul, but kind of what is one of the maybe more off-meta decks
Imagine
that
B
you're
pengecualian
hoping to
push
see?
terus dia. Ya sih, dia kompetitif kan.
There are 5 people on mill. I don't
Dia
know
nggak
if we're gonna see
seaktif
mill this time
Snui.
around, but this like watery grave deck, sometimes it's champless, sometimes it's Bilgewater or PNZ. There's so many different ways of building it. All APAC
Tapi kenapa
players
nggak
on
ada
a
yang buat
very,
deep
very
ya?
interesting
Deep sama
like
Watery
decision
Grave
for
ya?
that region to have made.
Itu
And
kayaknya
I'm curious to
kuat.
see if it can actually get it.
I love creativity when it comes down to these bigger tournaments. I feel like it's what an expansion coming
Sebenarnya
in
ada
right
beberapa yang
before
bawa
a World
Maokai.
Championship can
Oh ya?
sometimes breed. So
Ada.
maybe you do
Ada
end up getting your
Yata
wish there
64
with
dengan
some of those
Maokai
decks appearing on
Bilgewater Shadow Island.
broadcast. But I also
Di
want to take a
sini
look at
juga
what
ada
happened in that
Let's
Swiss
See
round number
nomor
1, because
57
while
yang
we
bawa
only got a
Maokai
chance to check out
Mordekaiser.
2 of the matches, we've got 64
Oh,
players
menarik.
that are competing in this event this weekend, and so there's going to
Nggak
have
tahu.
a
Ini gue
lot
penasaran
of
juga nih Maokai
exciting kind of
Mordekaiser ini
results
kayak
that we
gimana
get a
ini?
chance to look at, but it is
Menarik.
also
Terus ada
only
Kay
round
juga yang
number
dari
1,
Jepang
so
ini
there
bawanya
are
Akshan
still a lot
Maokai
of room here for our
Mordekaiser.
players to come back.
Pakai
That's
Akshan
what
loh.
makes these Swiss rounds so
Kayaknya
exciting,
Mordekaiser
Scarzik.
Yeah,
kayaknya
the
itu
Swiss
Snui pernah
rounds, even if you
main
take
itu.
a couple early losses,
Mordekaiser
you're always
sama
building
si
up that underdog energy and gonna try to run it
Maokai.
back
Cuma
when your
Iya,
back
iya.
is against the
Mordekaiser
wall,
tuh
and
kayak
sometimes
champion
players
yang
have
paling
that X
fleksibel ya di
factor.
sini.
They get
Bagus,
in, they
efeknya
aren't
bagus.
warmed up yet,
Benar-benar.
maybe a little bit nervous as this big tournament is kicking off, but once they
Emang
find
win
their
kondisinya
groove,
itu
they're gonna
Watery
start tearing
Grave.
Iya,
their
Watery
opponents
Grave.
apart.
Stalling
So I
sampai
mean,
Watery
so Spence,
Grave-nya
I feel
bisa
like
disaman.
when you look at Swiss rounds, right, it does take like a different mentality. We've seen players go through this format in particular, but having a top 16 cut, where do you feel like that might put players mentally, knowing that they've got to secure 5 wins, but if they do that, they're into that top 16.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much pressure on you to try and do it. You need to get that 5 and 3 to make it, or 5 and 2 to make it in. You need to have that good record, and then after that, it's double elimination. You can only lose once. So in front of these players, they've got like a 12 and 2 at like the worst they can do to try and make it in. It's very, very difficult, and the mindset of having to constantly prepare yourself every single round. Every hour there's a new game with a new enemy gamer with different
Gila,
lineups,
capek
different
sih
things
yang
they need to
menang.
practice.
And by
It's a
jam
big toll
5.
on these players. It's over the course of 3
Betul.
days.
Si
they've got
Grace
a lot
Lime
of
tidur
relaxation
nggak ya
for
siangnya?
days, but
Oh, enggak malah
Standby
dia.
untuk malam.
Dari dia siangnya katanya pengen tidur, ya tinggal tidur gitu, nggak usah curhat. Tapi dianya nggak tahu, malah nggak tidur dia, malah dipaksain bangun sampai jam 5 kayak. GG emang itu orang menarik.
Ya, dia habis selesai baru tidur panjang.
Langsung dari jam 5 sampai bangun jam 5 lagi itu dia.
Ekspansi sekarang berhasil lah ya, nggak kayak Poro King kemarin. Betul, Poro King tuh paling bosen ya.
Poro King tuh sama Nico dan Nidali
Yes.
Iya sih.
Ya itu
Kurang,
aku bolong gitu. Gak stream, gak apa. Bosen.
Nidalinya juga sempat punya deck tapi lebih ke apa ya? Kurang wah gitu.
Lumayan juga tapi kan, lumayan wah itu kan semenjak ada landmark yang baru itu.
Oh iya betul.
Yang waktu itu.
Betul.
And I think that when it comes to targeting, sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, please.
I've been holding back, but while I have some time here on the desk while we're waiting for our next match to start, the players very smartly began to gravitate towards Early Bird, a card that is very much targeted towards these late game win conditions and these greedy cards. And we even, we got a little of a preview in round number 1, how greedy and over the top these players are willing to get if it means they're going to do well here at the World Championships.
Here, I remember hearing your
Ekspansi Fiddlestick bakal lebih seru nih. Waduh.
Scarzik is trying to be the early bird that gets the worm
Kopium,
on
oke.
to the rest of the broadcast. I see what you're doing there. But yeah, I feel like we will have to see a lot of players.
Kayaknya kalau ada Fiddlestick dia bakal kayak idol dulu deh atau apa dorman gitu. Sampai dia bisa kan gitu kan kalau nggak salah ya Fiddlestick itu kan dia diam dulu gitu kan. Waktu itu malah gue cuma spam deck Cobra sebelum di nerf. Oke. Oke, ini ada masalah lagi guys. Jadi masih lama.
10 menit lagi untuk ronde 2.
Anjir. Ini capek nunggunya sih. Tungguan guys, ngantuk ini nunggunya. Atau dikasih curse scarecrow. Oke. Kayak kalau curse-nya bakal teror kali ya, main 3 attack. Orang-orang pada lari kan kalau di LoL-nya kan. Lagunya 8 bit nih, bagus banget. Sahaya 6.
Kayak TFT dong.
Apa?
Kayak TFT dong.
Iya,
8
ini
bit.
aku pakai lagunya ini karena kan kalau aku pakai lagu dari sini kan pasti kena copyright.
Iya,
Jadi
betul.
tak mute, aku setel lagunya TFT. Karena
Enjoy.
lagunya TFT yang sekarang bagus banget.
Dan tergantung sama genre yang lu mainin di board
Betul,
juga ya.
betul. Makanya season ini lagunya kalau sampai nggak bagus sih orang dia temanya musik kan.
Iya.
Maestro Jin kok enak. Kayak terakhir-terakhirnya dari ini full semua ini. Aku pasang full. Runeterra nih kelihatan kayak bocil ya fotonya. Bocil.
Ya foto yang 10 tahun lalu paling dia submit.
Bocil Indo. Iya kayak bocil-bocil baru ini nih. Mana green slime? Aku pengen lihat, oi.
Ada fotonya. Bentar.
Ada kan tadi udah ada. Aku pengen lihat dia di
Iya.
sini. Pengen tahu ininya aku. Apa
Ini
namanya?
gua share ntar ya.
Favorit champnya.
Ya, gua
Favorit
share ini.
regionnya.
Di Discord ya gue share ini ya.
Wah, coba. Taruh kita lihat di sininya aja deh dulu. Nah, semoga muncul.
Jauh dari huruf G, kan ini dari S dulu muter dulu ke Z ke A.
Oke. Oh, bener juga sesuai abjad ya, nggak apa-apa lah.
Sesuai
Masih
abjad.
ada waktu 7 menit.
Mungkin kalau sampai.
Dari tadi ini
kita lihat.
terus kayak. Oh, sudah angka. Habis ini A. Kita lihat satu ini berapa detik? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 berarti 1 menit butuh 4. 4 kalikan 6 24. Udah ada A, masih ada 24. A B C D E F G G 7. Berarti kalau satu orang 3 bisa.
Sempat.
Bisa. ABG Belkut. Aikado. Yearly point. Oke. Lemmy penyembah jamet Targun. jamet.
Nggak salah. Tidak salah.
Apelios berarti ya.
Betul.
Ini lagu ya Pentakil nih kayak. Oke. Spooky Karma. Oh, deck favorit deck of all time. Aku paling suka Anivia, tapi Anivia kan masih bisa dimainin sekarang ya, nggak kena nerf yang kayak gimana. Deck yang aku paling suka yang kena nerf itu, yang agak parah itu adalah decknya Pack Your Bag. Apa namanya?
Go hard.
Deck Go Hard ya, yang dulu ya. Tinggal draw, Go Hard. Ya dong. Woi, thank you banget buat siapa ini? Abidin baru aja subscribe, thank you. Ini baru B. Waduh. B-nya tadi A-nya banyak banget. B, C, D, E, F, G. Card gamer, astaga, nicknya card gamer nggak ada yang lebih gimana gitu. Kan memang pemain card game tapi ya udahlah.
Ya, gimana lagi?
Nerf timeline sekarang gue kena nerf parah, sedih. Oke. Timeline juga oke sih. Tapi aku paling suka go hard dulu ya. Gak pakai mikir mainnya. Itu go hard kalau masih ada sampai sekarang ya, masih pack backnya masih mana satu. Wah. Digabungin sama landmark baru Sarken Temple GG sih. Tuh, timeline si Cal sama nih kayak si siapa? Favoritnya timeline. Chenia. Atrokfen. Atrokfen masih bisa dimainin. Favorit champion Vayne, favorit regen Demacia. Oke, nyambung ya. Kalau aku nggak nyambung soalnya. Chinos TCG. Waduh. Ini nggak bisa di trading, Pak. Harusnya Chinos CCG.
Betul. Tapi dia juga kayaknya main TCG di real life.
Ya. The Tank Buster. That Grip Cultist. When I'm summoned or you summon a Titanic ally curse. Oke. Donat. Ini orang ini suka makan donat kayak.
Betul.
Namanya aja donat. Kalau orang Indonesia namanya Jeko.
Bisa banget. Nggak Dunkin sekalian, mantap.
Ya Dunkin. Aduh. Vlog A B C D E F G. Nah, habis ini. Kita bisa lihat pokoknya Gris lagi guys. Lihat guys.
Sempat
Langsung
lah.
tak screenshot guys. Tak screenshot ya. Nanti kalau podcast sama dia tak tunjukin bong gini loh kalian mukanya. Floppy Mudkip. Floppy Mudkip. Nah, sudah GG. Dia ada di grup FB bang, pernah aku tag, bagus. Iya pernah ada, aku tahu. Aku baru tahu itu Gris Slimy. Ya dia kan tidak pernah aktif ya, tidak pernah menunjukkan diri ya. Ya abang ditanya dia nggak mau dia. Grand Paroji, habis ini GRE, nah habis ini. Siap-siap ya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nah.
Nah ini nih.
Apelios Victor, favorit champion Apelios, favorit regen Montargon. Favorit cardnya dia cuma yang buat jadi deathless doang. Gak seru ah. Iya. Akali kok lama ya masuk lore ya, saya kurang paham ya. Tolong kalian PM apa namanya Riot Games ya. Akali woi, itu si AB juga udah pingin Akali itu ada tuh. Dia sampai salah kan di podcast yang kapan tuh dia bilang nextnya Akali yang keluar set.
Betul. Satu-satunya member KDA yang belum masuk
keluar.
Itu Akali doang.
Betul.
Fahri udah, Serafin udah
semua.
Udah. Iya, tinggal Akali doang.
Oke. Yearly point. Ya ini mukanya Gris Slime juga masih bocil sih. Sama-sama masih bocil ya. Oke, kita pause dulu lagunya. Udah mulai guys. Kita nunggu 10 menit. Worth it ya, kita bisa lihat Grand Slime ya profilnya. Bocah jamet dia ternyata, oke. Emang orang Indo asli dia, jamet dia. Hola, hai Anissa Bella, hai. Udah bosan sama dia kali.
something's gonna come to a stalemate. It's of
Taunya
course
gameplay
for a
kali
tournament like
ampas
this, we're
pasti
gonna have
pada
a tie,
ngamuk.
and I'm just glad we got it out of the way
Terapin
early.
kuat. Sebenarnya kalau kalau mau
Looks too
dibilang
small, I think, is what you've done there.
apa
We'll have to
namanya
see, we'll
sih,
have to see. There's a few players that are going to be playing this more like mill or small
Ahri
decks,
juga
so
agak
maybe
kurang
that's
sih
going to be
sebenarnya
a
main
bit of an issue
recall
there,
gitu.
but we'll have to wait and see. So far, though, it is smooth sailing.
Tapi sudahlah.
Otherwise, as we take a look at our results and we can see how the rest of Swiss round number 1 shook out. Spids, is there anything that's jumping out at you right now on these standings?
Oke. Majin B. Ya, Majin B juga kayaknya memang butuh buat menang sih dia karena udah lama banget dia gak menang-menang ya. Wah, ini dia ada mic yang mati nih kayaknya sih. Si ini ya. Komentatornya. KDA satu
iya
lagi
kayaknya.
Bang, belum Gragas anjir.
Oh bisa ada kayak dia Gragas loh.
Kalau KDA kalau di TFT ada siapa sih tuh? Itu mana satu,
Ada
mana tiga.
Nico, ada Lilia juga.
Ya, Lilia sama Nico. Tuh,
Super
Lilia
fan
belum
mereka.
Lilia belum keluar tuh.
Betul.
Yeah, we're just cycling through these again.
Nah, ngomong sendiri ya ceweknya kan, kita nggak ngerti kan? Yang cowok
Iya
soalnya
kan.
mati, yang lain mic-nya mati tuh. Gak ada yang nyadar guys.
Ya dari produksinya mungkin sedang sedikit
Wah,
kesalahan
beda
teknis.
cerita sama TFT. Oke. Kaisa bagus awal rilis, sekarang agak jelek. Ya karena terlalu bagus ya. Itu satu-satunya deck yang aku push dari awal sampai akhir. Dari aku Diamond 4 sampai Diamond 1 aku pushnya cuma pakai Kaisa. Sampai langsung masteringnya 4 kayaknya. Gak ada interaksi betul. Aku sampai hafal loh. Turn 1 main apa, turn 2 main apa, turn 3 main apa. Terus kalau mirror aku harus skip apa, harus nunggu apa. Kalau sudah kalah udah langsung tahu. Ya gitulah. Deck ngacur ronde 5 menang. Lebih lah kayak kalau Kaisa dari round 5. Yang round 5 menang itu deck Hiso ya, cuma udah di nerf. Sudahlah.
Yeah, Telpanator's got a very different read on the meta. There were only 2 people bringing Morgana Ribbon. One of them is Telpanator. There's only one person bringing Jananilla. That person was Telpanator. It's so different from everything else. There isn't any of this sort of like Mordekaiser that a lot of people bring. They are still on the Elder Dragon Nora, but definitely a completely different vibe from what everyone else was doing.
Yeah, the Morgana Ribbon really was the first deck that players really began to respect right out of the gate when the new expansion dropped, especially for the latter as an aggressive
Morgana Riven itu gampang-gampang tapi endingnya kadang sakit banget kena overwhelm-nya.
Ya overwhelm dari naganya juga bisa ngeburn.
Betul. Heso bukan nerf sih tapi karena pas rilis itu kartu nggak work saja, nggak work as intended kan. Ya kan di nerf kan jadinya. Hitungannya di nerf dari 9 mana jadi 10 mana. Itu ngefek banget.
Dihilangin juga.
Karena diskonnya tetap 9 mana. Dan diskonnya tetap 9 mana ya. Jadi dia nggak bisa Heiso to Heiso. Itu kartu lain lagi. Itu ngefek yang pertama. Terus begitu dia mati, spellnya dihilangin. Itu efek yang kedua. Terus begitu dia hilang dari board, gratisannya hilang. Kalau dulu kan masih gratisannya. Dan pertamanya itu aku pikir gratisannya itu next roundnya loh. Ternyata enggak. Ngawur.
Alright, we are going to watch the resort. Mantap.
Oke, Jax on. Kenapa ya kalau misalkan bawa Regen Runeterra? Oh ya memang sih. Betul.
And when you bring this on your lineup,
Ya,
your opponent
aku
has to respect
salah
your mana.
berpikir
Now,
sudah.
they aren't prepared for just these gigantic stats.
Karena memang regennya yang dikasih lihat ya. Yang
We're now gonna
Runeterra
go
kan nggak
to
punya regen ya,
the,
jadi
Elder
memang gambar
Dragon Nora.
championnya
This
yang
one's
dikasih
on
lihat.
2
Oke.
Nar,
gambar
some people
championnya.
are on the Nar, some
Yes.
people off the Nar. But another
No,
thing
not
that
the
Nar
isn't
Nora ini
on
aku
as much is the Plaza
selesai
Guardian.
World
We
aku
saw
bakal coba
Icon
mainin
on
di
Plaza
stream ya.
Guardian setting
Aku jadi
up this
penasaran
Yep.
ngeliat cara
5/5 or
mainnya.
6/6s when
Ternyata
they're buffed
kayak
by the
begitu
Dragon
kuat.
Bones. This version is slightly different.
Decknya
Not
mantep
on
ini.
net, going
Tentang
for more of
diskon
the
itu
early
emang
game control,
codingannya kan
things like
dari
the
Riot
junk
sendiri yang
construct,
bilang.
extra copies of Group Shot and Pytos. Same deck, slightly different feel. People build these in very different ways.
Oh,
Also, the lack of early bird means that Drizoth is looking to go maybe underneath a lot of these
Morgana
greedy opponents with
Mordekaiser
that
ini
list.
memang kuat
And
juga
of
nih.
course, to round it all out,
Morgana Mordekaiser.
Morgana Mordekaiser, a list that, you know, if Elder Dragon Nora has
Oh,
is the
dia
top
nggak bawa
one
yang
deck, I think
mana
this
ya
certainly
ini
came
ya?
in second place if I'm remembering correctly.
Emang banyak yang
And
sering
the
di-cut itu
potential
sih,
to
itu karena
hit
emang
Jun Several
kemahalan.
onto Mageseeker Inquisitor,
Oh,
to
dan
do
menurutku
a
malah
Mageseeker
itu
Inquisitor,
kartu
just
bagus
keep your
banget karena
opponent from being able to respond to your bolts with
Mordekaisernya bisa
spells,
cepet
proved to
banget
be a
level up di
pretty
situ
powerful win
walaupun
condition.
kemahalan tapi
Moving on to
menurutku
top laner
ininya
six, we have
payoff-nya
Villa
bagus banget
Gianna.
loh.
This was a deck
Ya,
that
tapi
had like
lebih
one season of
pikir
being
beberapa
incredibly
orang itu
strong.
lebih
It got
prefer
nerfed
punya
slightly and
stabilisasi
then
di early
fell
gamenya gitu
out
dengan
of the meta.
Oh.
We're seeing it
early
right
dropnya
here.
dibanyakin
You're
gitu.
trying to go for just getting so much
Oke.
updraft, leveling up your Nilla, leveling up
Karena
your
aku
Janna,
pakai
getting
deck itu
every single
lumayan
card in
loh
your
win
deck. This
rate-nya.
one's on Tide Dancer as well as
Iya,
Cold Shot,
70%
setting up that
kayak.
very well convergence to
Mantap.
get that
Iya.
very surprisingly
Dari 10 game ya.
Yeah, very
Iya,
Agak
tapi
lama-lama.
bagus itu, bagus.
From time to time
Bentar
how
aku lihat, aku
strong
buka
that
Runeterra
can be.
AR-ku.
Of course, Elder
Soalnya aku
Dragon
baru
Nora,
share tadi.
Calvator has to bring it. This is the all-star
Aku
of
tadi
the
baru
new
share.
meta. Only on
Iya,
one copy
70%.
of early bird just for a well-timed
10
late game
match.
shenanigan.
70%
Maybe
win
kicking that
rate.
Elder Dragon or kicking a Riptide Rex or something in the mirror could be a sight to behold, but this one is importantly on the Plaza Guardian.
Iya, aku suka banget. Menurutku early game-nya pun juga udah kuat ini. Bener-bener ya di combo ya. Round 1 misalkan skip, round 2 keluarin antara mau keluarin si
Riven Morgana plays for such a powerful
Wedding
thing.
Icon
If they
atau
ever
mau
tap
keluarin
under a
si
certain amount of
Cashless
mana,
Entry.
you can play Morgana and get rid of a unit
Nah,
very
round
easily. You
3-nya
can't ever spend mana on those shackles because
round
you
3-nya kan
can't
bisa
use
keluarin
Riven
si
Morgana
Legion of the
with Fire Spitter, with
Severed.
Might, with so many
Itu
powerful, aggressive
itu yang
cards
mana 6
that you need to
Spectral
play
Iron
it
Hound.
so
Dah. Kalau
cleanly
udah
against
bisa kayak gitu
Riven
aja
Morgana.
value-nya
Any
udah gede
slip up
banget.
and Riven Morgana will punish you greatly.
Iya.
Yeah.
Oh, we are getting into the match.
Oke.
Yang
di nerf kira-kira siapa? Yang di nerf, sorry, yang di ban, sorry.
Oke, kalau misalnya gue dari perspektif Talpinator ini kayaknya gue bakalan nge-ban Jangan nilai ini interesting. Kayaknya Jax On terlalu menyeramkan sih, reputasinya kegedean nih Jax On. Itu deck yang bisa snowball dari awal game, apalagi ada Yadulski Snowdo gitu yang kartu baru.
Oke.
Kayaknya harus nge-ban
Jax
Jax
On.
On. Jadi ini si Talpinator bakal main ngelawan Elder Dragon dan Mordekaiser. Meanwhile kalau lu Drizoth kayaknya lu bakalan nge-ban. Ini lu bakalan main late game lah istilahnya.
Berarti
Kalau main Elder
Morgana
Dragon dan
Riven.
ya Morgana Riven kadang-kadang nggak kehambat itu si agresinya. Jadi Morgana Riven bakal di-ban. Jadi kalau prediksi gua Jax On dan Morgana Riven.
Oke.
Tapi gua mungkin salah. Kita
Betul.
lihat.
Pemikirannya mereka bisa berbeda.
Betul.
Bahwa Genar bisa maksimalin slot champion sih.
Yeah, it's a tall order for sure. I talked earlier about how Mordekaiser, by killing and reviving the units or just sacrificing the units in general, doesn't really care about the shackles. And if you have a deck that can just sidestep one of your list's main mechanics, it could be smart to take that off of the table. And Elder Dragon Nora, this is already round 2 of Swiss. This is a deck that throughout the rest of the tournament, I'm calling it now, it's going to be one of those lists that you think you're good, you think you can beat it, you leave it up, and somehow it will find a way to hang on through the early game thanks to portals or stabilize off of the backpacks and group shots from the Burblefish that really bring the game to a close.
We have to talk about how absurd this Burblefish pool is. There's so few options for Burblefish to target, and because we're not playing Bilgewater anymore, all of them are amazing. Every single thing that you could possibly want, you can get off this
Oke, yang di
Burblefish.
ban
And it's not
si
just Burblefish,
Gnar
you can get off Trinket Tree,
Nora.
you can get Simmer,
Oke,
you can
benar ya
get
sama
Iya,
Jax
iya.
This
on-nya
pool is amazing.
di
We have the
ban.
bans come in Elder Dragon Nora banned on
Menarik
Palpinator
ini.
and Jax on banned from Drizzle.
Ini kayaknya sih Morgana Riven yang bakal dipakai duluan karena bagus ngelawan dua deck. Dua deck
Morgana
lawannya.
Kaiser bakal kewalahan ini lawan Morgana Agro. Sementara kalau Elder Dragon tuh bisa nahan si Morgana Riven karena punya Pythos dan Group Shot. Jadi yang
Oh, I see.
unit 1 HP-nya bisa di handle lah. Tapi kita lihat dulu aplikasinya bagaimana.
Inilah Jana. Aku nggak bisa main deck itu. Apalagi sudah di nerf ya, dan masih dibawa ya, gila sih.
Di
Berani
nerf
sekali.
itu si Jana itu si Jananya itu untuk level up dia butuh 8 kartu dari 6.
Oke kan, Riven duluan dimainin. Oke, Riven Morgana ngelawan Mordekaiser sama Morgana. Masih bisa menang sih Mordekaiser Morgana, cuma aku beberapa kali kalah memang. Dia bawa Ruby Eyed Conjurer. Ini kayaknya dipakai spell shield ke antara pakai kasih overwhelm dia ke Riven ya. Spell shield harusnya.
Enggak, spell shield ke Riven.
Spell
Jadi
shield lah.
Rivennya nggak bakalan ke
Betul.
dijawab sama hate spike dan death gitu. Bagus banget ini. Gua suka.
But Drithoth is able to play these spells in response, kill stuff like Riven with Death's Grasp.
Di sini harusnya Drizzt harus agresif nyari si Mage Seeker gitu. Kartu yang 4 mananya buat nge-stop Talpinator casting spell.
Kill 31,
Nyari
yes.
suppressionnya gitu.
Just high rolling, right? If Drizzt doesn't have a unit here, I get 3 damage. Could have been the Rune Squire to get a free trade into the 0-1
Turun yang mana dua?
Talpinator.
Yang 21 challenger.
I want to play Ruby-Eyed Conjurer, maybe try to put Spell Shield on a champion to give that a
Oke.
stronger threat
Kasih spell shield dulu, enggak?
But then is also saying I can float mana here in order to make it easier to deal with suppression, to weave in this Dark Binding for a stun, get some overwhelm damage. So very interesting forked line here, Spids.
Ya, dia berpikir apa yang harus saya lakukan. Ini kalau orang main di apa namanya di ranked ya udah marah-marah. Lama sekali nggak jalan-jalan, nah itu.
Ya ada timer itu dimanfaatkan aja lah.
Loh di grup apa namanya FB kan begitu.
Wow.
Gak jalan-jalan, lama sekali. Mikir apa sih? Wah gitu.
Still floating enough mana to deal with suppression.
Mati.
Answered immediately by the Scholarly
Ini
Pioneer.
kayaknya Talpinator untuk turn 4-nya bakalan ngedrop 4 mana ini yang si Reptile. Dan bakal dijawab sama Drizzt pakai Death Grasp skill yang 3 mana buat ngedeal 5 damage. Talpinator di sini nggak punya interupsi buat nge-stop si Death Grasp-nya.
However, shackling a big target and getting some lifesteal means that Talpinator has to turn up the heat.
Before this draw,
Gila
both
sih,
players looked
dijawab
like they had
terus.
sort of weaker hands. Talpinator maybe had a better hand, but it looked very low power level. Now both of them have drawn another champion, and this game is going to be going much higher in the strength. Talpinator is probably going to be able to get 2 blades
dua
over the course of this
Morgana.
entire game. Or
Dia bakal
Drizzt is gonna
pas
be
kayak
able to
kan.
shackle everything
Karena
that
dia bakal
Talpinator's going for. It's
nunggu
gonna probably go long, especially
buat
for this Mordekaiser
di
deck that always
shackle.
tries to stretch out this game as long as possible. And Talpinator is going to be preparing for that, putting Spell Shield on the Riven, playing the long game.
What I like here too is Drizzt recognizes Talpinator's the aggressor. I don't have to develop. I don't have to do anything because I can rest on the laurels of my kingly late game. Talpinator now setting up the Ruby-Eyed Conjurer, proccing on Riven, already preparing to get a massive combo
Dipakai
turn set
kayaknya mananya buat giniin suppression.
But this is where things get dire because the Inquisitor can be killed and revived potentially.
Oke, Rivennya diturunin.
If a blade gets locked out with suppression or this dark binding gets locked out, Talpinator is going to have a hard time hitting through with damage. We're already deep into the mid game, and Drizzt sitting at a clean 20.
Kelpinator is going to have exactly 9 mana next turn. That's 3 for Riven, 3 for the Blade Fragments, 1 for the Big Blade, and then only 2 mana
pas.
remaining. That 2 mana
Ya,
doesn't have a
Rivennya
great...
turun.
Never mind, it's got a great place to put it now.
Rivennya pasti yang pakai spell shield dan udah dapat 3 shard ini buat level up si Rivennya.
Betul. Tapi Riven turun pasti bakal dikasih shackle.
After those removal pieces, there isn't that third piece
Yep.
of removal for later on.
Bisa
Pasti bakal dikasih
bisa
shackle.
juga di blunder terus ke dead grasp. Itu juga valid itu kalau misalnya mau dibunuh Rivennya.
Oke.
Nightmare scenario, right? If
Kita
you're
lihat
top
aja
inning,
dulu.
you're looking across the board right now. You're playing Riven with the spell shield. She gets shackled. The Inquisitor's there. You have to immediately spend mana on the shackles and
Morgana.
essentially take this attack token off.
Oke, Morgana juga sebenarnya ini bagus soalnya
ya,
si
dia harus
Talpinor bisa
nge-burn 4 mana.
Ya, di burn 4 mana dan Rivennya tetap menyerang mungkin.
Ya.
Ya, si Drizztnya ini bisa binding lagi pakai Morgana Champion spell yang di tangan, Dark Binding itu, di stun lagi si Rivennya. Spell shield tapi ya. Sebentar. Lupa gua.
Kelpinator's got a few options here. You can do a small level of playing these blades. You can just put +2 on the Rune Squire at quick attack. Don't spend anything else. Target the Morgana, target the Maidseeker Inquisitor. Or you can go the full way, put the other, like the full weapon on the Ruby-Eyed Conjurer, do a 2-pronged attack, and deal with the fact that Drizzt doesn't have that many pieces of interaction. You haven't really tested for them.
Oke, bakal di stun.
Hate Spike at the moment. You're still trying to play around all these cards. But if
Pasti narik Morgana terus bakal di stun. Narik Maidseeker. Oke, actually that's a good play. Itu soalnya ini untuk mencegah ya ditarik
kalau
ya.
misalnya bukan kalau mencegah Drizzt kalau punya Mordekaiser di tangan itu turn berikutnya itu mana 7.
Oh iya
si
iya.
Maidseeker-nya bisa di print lagi dan ngasih suppression lagi.
That's a good play. Dan
sekarang Drizzt-nya ngedraw cari mungkin Mordekaiser-nya belum nongol by the way.
Yes. Oke, Riven-nya tinggal satu lagi untuk dapat spellnya, untuk dapat pedangnya untuk level up.
Precisely. You told the audience at home that these Mordekaiser.
Apakah Mordekaiser-nya nongol di sini?
Tidak.
Sebuah glimpse beyond.
Drizzt is in this most awkward timeline of having tons of reactive spells and removal and
tangannya Drizzt ini kurang apa ya? Tidak proaktif. Ini reaktif semua kartunya.
Betul.
Rekindler pun itu dia nggak bakal nge-revive apapun karena Morgananya masih hidup.
Betul.
Jadi kan kayak dead hand gitu.
Explorer's blunder just to pop the spell shield on Riven. She is still shackled.
I like your implication that Drizzt is not enjoying the fact that he's got nothing but reactive cards. I know Drizzt, this is all he wants. He wants to play.
Kayak dia bisa make shackle-nya sekarang sih. Juga dia nggak bakal nurin apa-apa kan kayak.
Iya.
To try and eventually win. But I think while Drizzt's hand isn't amazing, this is sort of what
pasti pas.
See the difference in the Morgana level ups. That level up can matter even for this Mordekaiser deck, shackling constantly, putting extra burn on, taxing mana even more, but that isn't necessarily the win con.
Nggak, mungkin dia bunuhin Morgananya kan. Untuk bunuh Riven. Mentang-mentang bisa di revive.
Bisa jadi soalnya Drizzt lagi nyari apa ya justifikasi buat ngedrop Rekindler-nya gitu. Tapi Morgana efeknya ngasih shackle kalau play kan. Kalau dia di summon enggak. Kalau summon dia nggak ngapa-ngapain. Oke, enggak kan?
Gonna see an early hate spike trying to deal with the challenger unit, trying to make sure that Drizzt's spending his mana effectively, right? You don't want to be spending all of this mana next turn.
Tapi kalau di Dash apa Dead Guards tuh masih ada yang spell shield ya.
Spending this mana now, possibly going for that level up if the Glimpse Beyond comes down. I think that was exactly a
Ini kayak bakal
level
pas.
up if that happens. Kelpinator having to consider this, thinking, can I develop or should I wait and try and use my own Morgana to prevent their Morgana from attacking?
That is a beautiful point with these decks when you have spells that target your unit and then the opponent's unit. Morgana just has to target units to level up. So just one more spell will make that happen. Getting some more augmented life seal, getting some free shackles and board wiping potential makes it that much harder for Talpinator to put forth a threat. And with Drizoth on the attack token, not sensing any
Oke, level up.
response from his opponent, goes
Ada
for
proteksi
that
sih ini
level
si
up.
Betul.
Talmetor buat Riven-nya. Jadi
That's
untuk
grass,
sementara
dealing
tidak
5
masalah.
damage to take out the Riven,
Alternatifnya ini
clearing a
Talpinator
pathway for
daripada
Morgana.
nge-protect Riven bisa buat
There is
nge-shackle
another Riven in hand.
Morgananya punya
Talpinator
Drizzle.
doesn't feel the worst in this position. They do have that
Pakai
other champion
Morgana diri
currently
sendiri.
looking
Betul,
like a
pakai
champion
Morgana
as
dia
well.
sendiri.
Back into
Ini
the champion
dibiarin
position.
mati,
Talpinator
terus
has
dia
to make
bisa
a decision. Do
Morgana
they use the
sendiri.
spell shield to protect this
Iya.
Riven, but
Soalnya
let
Riven-nya ada dua
Morgana
ini.
attack?
Betul.
Or do they play their own Morgana to prevent their Morgana? And is this the best Morgana you're getting from Talpinator? This Morgana card is such a massive tempo
Talpinator
swing
sudah
that while
salty.
you can play it on this turn to reduce
Bisa dilihat dari
tempo, you
gesturnya.
might want to play it later
Oh,
for
DC,
aggressive combo. We're
DC.
gonna see what Talpinator
DC
goes
dia
for,
sempat
but
tadi.
this isn't an
Iya.
easy decision to make.
Dan kita
Was
bakal
looking for
lihat
a pass here
Morgananya.
Morgana
from
pasti turun.
because of the way Morgana shackling works, but no, prevents that level 2 effect. Doesn't want another shackle being put in the hand, doesn't want to be chained down. Going to try to go for, again, additional pressure with only 2
Eventnya
mana
turun.
floated for Drizoth. That means if this Morgana gets unshackled in order to block down this turn, that's once again no Mordekaiser.
Talpinator's got a bit of an awkward looking hand. That last draw of another spell shield is going to be nice in future when spell shield is able to be played rather
Yeah.
effectively, but Talpinator doesn't actually have all that much mana. Spending Morgana was a lot of mana to go for, and while they do have Riven and Blade of the Exile around for them, they're not going to be able to do amazingly into Drizoth being able to put 2 pieces of interaction on the field. Something like a Death Grasp plus a Vengeance might end up dealing with these cards really effectively.
And because there is plenty of time for Talpinator,
Harusnya dia
every turn
ngasih
that
ke
ticks
Riven-nya
by,
sih.
that's just another threat drawn with all of these
tapi dia
blade
punya
fragments and the Blade of the Exile
Vengeance.
working in tandem. Any unit that potentially sticks can become massive damage that Drizoth is not willing to take with this hyper reactive hand. Vengeance and Dark Binding going to do a lot of heavy lifting, but still 2 dead cards because of the Rekindler draws.
It also
Tapi
feels
kalau
like
dikasih
every
spell
turn to try to go-
pedangnya ke Riven, dia mau di kill, dia kasih spell shield tapi nggak
And
bisa
with Black
attack.
Shield now, Talpinator maybe thinking about an angle to level up his own Morgana.
Assalamualaikum Kak Ben.
Going to
Waalaikumsalam
see,
Doni
one of the self-sack
Putra.
cards hovered. Targeting your own Morgana never feels good, but it makes sense to try and threaten this first, see what's going to happen. You do have to probably play this eventually in the next couple of turns, but these Rekindlers are just sitting like bricks in the hand. They can get back this Morgana if Morgana dies. That's one of the things that Rekindler is able to do, and it sort of unbricks that card, but not getting a Mordekaiser from that has got to feel awful for me.
And this is certainly the best line. And now with the spell shield being placed on Riven, Drizoth's idea of sacrificing the Morgana and reviving it is taken off of the table. If you want this Riven to go down, this forces the Vengeance to come through.
Ya, ini Vengeance pasti turun.
And
Is
you calculate for this, right?
Seeing every single possibility. Am I going to play Rekindler so that I can pressure more on the next turn, get a Morgana and open attack with her potentially, get the lifesteal, get the extra shackle on the future turn? All of these players thinking multiple turns ahead, and I think that's what Drizoth is going for.
Bakal langsung attack?
So it does resolve. Drizoth opts to keep that 7 mana
Kalau
for the
langsung
Rekindler
attack
potential.
ini
Now that
damage-nya
things are
berapa
back
ini?
over to Talpinator's
2,
side
5,
because of the way the actions
harus
work.
di-unlock dulu
As the
Riven-nya
response, okay,
9.
I'm just going to open attack.
Iya.
Bakal di Vengeance Riven-nya?
Ya, langsung di jauh sama Vengeance ini.
Betul.
On the table. Doesn't seem like much right now.
Enggak loh.
With the right
Why?
setup of Dark Binding.
Berarti dia mau Rekindler?
Iya, Rekindler. Bakal dapat Morgana kedua.
Atau harusnya dia Morgana dulu. Next round-nya langsung Rekindler. Bisa 2 Morgana, betul?
Beautiful.
Bisa juga itu kayak gitu.
Karena bakal ke shackle semua kan. Dan
Betul,
damage
betul.
4.
Dan dari sisi Talpinator ini nggak ada selain dari stunnya Morgana itu dari champion spell itu nggak ada answer lagi buat backline unit gitu. Ya. Nah ini nih.
Ini bakal di stun saat nggak bisa sih. Di stun dia masih bisa dipakai shackle ya.
Gameplay pattern, but it's actually almost kind of working.
Hus.
Gonna see what this Targon until stones goes
Oh
for,
bisa
maybe
masih
the
bisa
buffer
dipakai
of the
stun
Infinite
shackle-nya,
Flash,
tapi
trying to
stunnya
prevent
tetap
this
ngaruh gitu
shackle from going
istilahnya,
through,
jadi
getting
nggak bisa
extra target
nyerang
on Morgana. Good
Oh iya
point.
betul.
karena masih ke stun.
Yeah, taking
Yep.
that
Jadi
life
yang
steal
satu di
keyword
hash, yang
away,
satu di stun.
shackling the other, and
Nah,
dark binding,
mantap.
continuously taxing Drizzot's mana. And
Morgananya Torpinator
an
bakal level up.
absolutely wild sequence now
betul.
as the games have gotten this late. We're almost to turn 10,
Udah berapa ya?
and Drizzot
6
is
out of
on
8.
this
Jadi ini
completely
sama
for
Oh, kurang
skill.
satu.
Iya, kurang
Morgana
satu.
Sama pedang
line
nanti.
that
Tinggal ditambahin
Pedangnya
pedang.
dikasih,
this deck
terus
seems to just be
next
Mordekaiser
roundnya
got deck.
tinggal
Morgana's just there
kasih itu,
to
tapi
hold down the
oh
fort in your mid
tinggal shackle-nya
game, take out
dilepas,
some big threats with the
langsung
shackles,
attack.
but doubling down on her like this as the
Yang
win
jadi
condition
masalah itu
hopefully
sebenarnya
will let
ini
this champion
Talpinator,
shine a little
kecuali
bit brighter
unitnya
than
bisa
their
punya
7-mana
power gede
counterpart.
dan quick attack. Drizzot itu bisa
Talpinator is
ngeblok pakai lifesteal, jadi
Ya
matinya
ya
bakal
ya.
rada
coming into
susah
the
ini.
next turn. They're gonna have Morgana leveled up, doing 2 burns to
Nyerang
the
pakai
Nexus,
Morgana?
shackling one of the
Why?
Morganas from Drizzot's side. There's going to be
Karena
Riven
yakin nggak
probably with
bisa
one of
mati
these
kan?
blades, and gonna be creating the +2 strength blade as well. Put on
Tapi
probably the Ruby-Eyed Conjurer to go for
istilahnya
the
tuh kayak
Bible.
berani banget
Talpinator
nabrak
has got an
lawan
amazing
Pel
attack
Cascade
coming
gitu.
in, and the only answer is Vengeance, which can be answered by the Black
Soalnya
Shield.
Talpinator punya
Oh
3
iya.
mana
Getting
up.
full lethal, but getting damn
Itu
close.
berarti nge-gambling bahwa si Morgananya nggak bakal mati sama Pel
After all
Cascade.
is said and done,
Oke.
Drizzot pivoting to already go for this defensive idea.
Ini
Since
harusnya
the
pedangnya
Talpinator has a
dikasih
beautiful
sekarang sih
open
kalau
swing.
misalkan next
Now,
roundnya mau
with
attack.
all of the mana
Betul.
expended,
Oke.
Dan
Talpinator can set
itu
up the
dia
Blade of the
bakal.
Exile safely
Dan si
this
Riven ini
turn
begitu dapat
for
attack
that
token lagi
opening
bakal dapat
onslaught.
fragment yang +2 attack. Soalnya
Drizzot's
kita
gonna be
lihat ada
trying
quick
to
attack dan
find
overwhelm
Yes,
di
yes, yes.
tangannya
Draw.
Talpinator.
They've had interaction all throughout
Jadi
this game and
si
still
Riven
needs
ini
more
bakal
influence and
12
not
power.
die here. But if
Oh.
Plus
Drizzot
4
can stay
dari
around this
Blade of
turn,
Exile yang
Talpinator
sekarang di
doesn't have
casting,
that much
dan
interaction.
plus 4 lagi
Triple
dari
Morgana
2
could come
plus
down
2
to
yang
Plus 2.
bakal
if
di
Talpinator doesn't actually
generate
get lethal.
next
And
turn
I've never
gitu.
seen a
Yes.
triple Morgana in this, but being able to
Morgananya juga
stun
bisa dapat.
everything, go
Morgananya
for
juga
massive
next
damage,
roundnya
take out
dia
everything by
bakal
dealing
ini
2
ya,
to all units that have shackles will
ngekunci
be
kan.
phenomenal.
Ya, dia bakal ngekunci salah
And
satu dari
as
Morgana
I've seen
punya
this
Drizzot.
game play out,
Betul. Dan
Spitz,
ngedamage
this
2
Runeterra
juga ke
Morgana
Nexus.
seems to be less
End round.
about, going wide and
Udah pasti
aggro
end
in
round dong.
tempo as it might have originally appeared to the
End
player
round lah,
base or even to
langsung
our
dapat
audience
tektokan.
today. The
Nunggu
threat
apa lagi,
density and the
bro?
constant establishment
Brabri
of
bro,
this has overwhelmed a lot
bro.
of attack, and now this has overwhelmed a lot of attack, and spell shield, and also there's stuns in the mix is giving me shades of
Oke.
old Pantheon lists where Pantheon number 1 and 2 weren't what did you in, it was Pantheon number 3 or Horazi.
Tapi bisa dapat lifesteal
Yeah,
dulu
that's
nih.
definitely an interesting comparison. My comparison
Wait, is
personally is
that?
comparing it to Riven
Oh,
Gwen of
that
like last
that is
season.
plus
You
2
have
and plus
like
2.
2 or 3 massive overwhelm threats that you can consistently keep drawing into. Sometimes you use Hollow, sometimes
Oke,
it's
jadi
Kato. This
ini
deck's very
bagus
similar,
ini
just
bisa
replacing the Shadowland stuff with this Targon stuff.
dikasih
but
plus
it's
2-nya
absolutely
salah
the
satu
same
ke Morgana,
resources
yang
to
salah
go for the
satunya
same
lagi ke
weapons.
Riven.
We
Jadi
do see
Riven,
Drizzot
si
drawing
Morgananya
unit,
bisa
not
dikasih quick
really
attack
what they
dan
were looking for. They needed more Mordekaiser or the
apa
spell.
itu namanya?
Or Capilinator is putting all
Overwhelm.
of their resources into this attack, getting overwhelmed.
Begitu di blok sama
Morgana
Morgananya
with
punya
all of the
Drizzot,
fragments on, and probably
itu
going
nggak
to go
bakal
for an
nge-lifesteal
open attack.
istilahnya.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine seeing a development, although I don't know what
Attack.
development
Ada
comes with.
18 overwhelm damage.
Yoi.
It keeps the
Drizzot
2
bisa
mana up
jawab
specifically
dengan
for
Vengeance,
the
tapi kita
Black
di sini
Shield.
bisa
A lot
lihat
of
ada
damage
Black
spell
Shield.
shield.
Drizzot
Yeah.
is
Iya.
down 1 blocker thanks to
18
Talpinator's Morgana's
kurang 10.
shackles.
18 sama
Sebenarnya
2,
Drizzot
20 kan.
Oh ya, tambah 2 dari
Dari skillnya
Morgana
Morgana.
effect,
Gonna
betul.
have to fire off this vengeance, but it's going to meet the fate of this black.
Pas banget,
shield,
11.
and
Yoi.
Pas
this
banget.
is exactly lethal
Soalnya
as
yang
far as I
Morgana
can tell.
satunya
I think
lagi tuh
Capilinator
nggak bisa
taking the
ngeblok
first game.
Yes.
karena kena shackle. Kita lihat Vengeance,
Now,
tapi ada Black
Vengeance,
Shield di
tapi
sini
ada
dan
Black, betul.
Talpinator bakal dapat game yang pertama. 1-0,
1-0.
mantap.
Draw sequences we could have ever seen with Drizzot
Dan
having
mananya
no
pas sisa 2 ya.
Mordekaiser is going to go down
Mukanya Drizzot kayak,
to the double
anjir.
duo onslaught. Morgana and
This is what happens with these decks that need one particular card in order to win the game. Mordekaiser is so critical. It's one of these 7 mana cards that for some reason you still have to keep in your mulligan. It's that critical to
Oke,
this deck.
hampir.
And that's what ended
Well
up
play,
happening
well play,
here.
Drizzot,
Drizzot
well
ended up
play.
finding it and Talpinator able to draw the
Ah,
champions,
lawan
draw the
ini
overwhelm
bisa
cards,
menang
go on for the
lah.
Yeah, incredibly poor luck on Drizoth's side. He's a seasoned enough player to just shake that one off, but she knows Talpinator's
Lawan Jana bisa menang
I
lah.
thought that even without Mordekaiser, right, the double Morgana,
Ya,
the
kalah
potential
minum dulu.
threat of triple Morgana would be enough.
Biar tenang, biar
Thankfully,
tenang.
Talpinator found that early 9 damage and was able to combine it with a perfect 11 damage for the lethal. Now, so try to find a win on Jana Neela, a classic overpowered deck that got normalized, I'll say. And I haven't seen hide nor hair of it. And I'm excited for what it can potentially show.
We've seen very clean play from Talpinator, knowing what their win cons are, playing for them cleanly. I'm hoping to see that this Neela deck is able to do the same. It feels draw reliant, but you draw so much that it's almost the opposite, that you equalize your draws by just drawing
Wah, ini
every single
kombonya
thing you
bagus
can
ini
possibly
di
get.
game ini.
You see the
Si
Mime, you see the
Talpinator
Bento
bisa
Baron,
drop
you see the
pulsar
Vikrash,
turn 1
very
dan
important
kartu
to
yang
have early
flitingnya
goals.
bisa di
Drizoth
updraft.
has got a very good hand as
Oke.
well.
Dan
This
begitu
Nora here with
ngedraw
Infinity
2,
before the
si
Vikrash
Windborn
comes in.
Marinernya itu costnya
Rakabon
0.
able to
Nol,
interact
oke.
with Vikrash as well.
Jadi
Very, very good hand.
kalau
No
misalnya
restrictions
Talpinator
built
punya
in
attack
front.
token di turn yang genap,
A deck like this that can
ini
chunk
bisa
you down is
agresif
always
parah
a
ini.
headache when you're playing Jana Neela. But
Dan dia punya
Neela coming through with Brash, which Nora doesn't deal with very well. Having some tempo options with Howling Gale to remove
kartu
the
yang
target
fliting
out of
nggak
the way.
masalah.
Tapi
Talpinator
ada
is
satu
going to be
damage.
in a position to
Ada
push
satu
through
damage
way
menang
more
dari
damage than
Spytos
Drizoth
dan
might
dari
be able to calculate.
apa itu namanya drop the bomb, tapi
Talpinator
menarik
is the
juga.
world's luckiest player.
Kartu
He
yang
plays a
fleetingnya
pull
ternyata
shark
Tide
on
Dancer
one
dan
and draws one of the few cards that doesn't get fleeting when you draw
di
a
draw
Neela.
lagi loh
Di
itu
draw
yang
lagi,
fleetingnya.
ha. Hilang ya fleetingnya.
Hilang fleetingnya. Bukan hilang fleetingnya, tapi kalau Tide Dancer itu emang nggak bisa fleeting gitu.
Oh iya ya.
Iya. Ini draw jadi kena diskon updraft. Menarik ini. Kalau misalnya Talpinator mau bisa turunin botnya turn 5 loh.
Hoki banget ya. Anjir.
Betul. Pythos
Oke,
dari 6
attack.
damage jadi 3 damage tapi tetap masih bagus.
Masih kena 3 damage tuh. Mukanya Drizoth udah bete banget.
Dan gue baru nyadar ini ternyata Jana Nilahnya bukan tipikal Jana Nilah yang bawa gajah ITB itu. Ini Jana Nilah yang bawa kapal yang lebih agresif, yang lebih ke unit bantu bawa ini juga lagi Master Lookout.
Open attack.
Open attack, soalnya Talpinator mikir dia bakal ngedrop Jana after combat gitu.
Yes.
Dan buat nge-setup biar bisa main Cloud Winder berikutnya.
Tidak jadi. Tidak jadi. Open attack lah.
Open lah, bener. Emang open attack udah paling bener ini. Setting up buat dropping Jana, terus bisa mainin Cloud Windernya gitu. Udah paling mantap itu.
Open attack. Woi.
Masih mikir. Masih mikir.
Open attack. Ya dia nggak tahu tangan lawannya sih. Tetap bisa di stun 1. Tapi tetap aja. Di stun 1 kayak.
I think this open attack's really clean, and one issue with Drizoth's deck is while there is big interaction with things like Broadmain and Challenger from
Tapi
the
kasihan
Dragon
juga
Boon,
kalau
and small
stun
interaction
sekarang.
with Group Shot and Pythos, there's not a clean way of dealing with Jana. Jana has 4 health, which is quite
Turunin
a lot
Genar.
for this Bandle City deck to try and deal with.
Atau si ya konkologis. Berarti konkologis. Waluk. Bagus Waluk. Oke, lalu Jana turun.
Remove things and generically block down to get to this late game that just eventually you overrun your opponent with value and damage and threat and can't really take a time to pivot to deal with the Jana like you mentioned, Spids, right? She's going to eat 2 or 3 cards, which is also demoralizing when you think about.
Oke, itu fungsi timer ada 3 apa gunanya ya?
Ada 3 yang mana?
Timer itu yang atas adalah waktunya si Drizoth, yang bawah adalah waktunya Talpinator, yang tengah itu waktu overall semuanya.
Another massive swing is going to
Gimana cara jelasinnya? Kayak catur sih.
Ya
Kelpinator
lebih
is
kayak
gonna
chess
go
club.
for a
Jadi
massive
yang
swing
timernya
as
paling
this
negatif
burn has
itu
bleeding
mereka
us to
udah
get
nggak
going.
bisa
But Drizzle has
nge-delay
found quite a
turn
few
mereka
Ini
lebih lama
kapalnya
gitu.
turun sekarang ya
this.
harusnya.
We've got 2 wallops in hand. We've got the
Terlalu
group shot
cepet
that will
kalau kata
probably
gua
be
sih.
procced
Enggak
back
ya?
2 damage by
Kayaknya
next
enggak
turn,
deh, masih
probably
bisa
drawing
sabar, masih
another
bisa sabar
bottle
ini.
or playing this Gnar. So it might not be that lethal, and
Monyet
giving Drizzle
berarti.
2 extra turns
Ya kayaknya
after
Master
turn 6
Lookout
is the opposite of what you want going there.
disambung
That's where Drizzle
sama
gains all his tempo back. He lost it at the start,
tunggu
he
dulu.
gains it
Kayaknya
back with his
kapal
dragon,
emang
gains it back
bisa
with his
soalnya
high cost.
And this
mungkin
is the perfect
Talpinator
turn as
mau
well to
setting
drop
up
the bomb, set up
buat
that scrappy bomb
buat attack
that
di
will
next turn
detonate
karena nggak punya
Oke.
attack token sekarang.
turns to beautifully set
Bagus
up
ini
for
dan juga
Riptide
ngedraw Nila
Rex.
secara tidak sengaja.
Falconeer's already
Efek
beginning to
bonus
see
tambahan.
how
Secara
short
tidak
the clock is
sengaja.
really on and is already prepared by keeping this Tide Dancer in
Efeknya
the opening
sengaja
hand,
lah.
prepping for the next attack
Iya.
token. Probably acknowledging
Secara
it's
tidak
a fun one.
sengaja.
Drizzle is now thinking of all of the possible lanes, trying to think out how am I beating this Tide Dancer. I can wallop
Ada
2
berapa
things,
mana
I'm
ini
able to
punya
drop the
Talpinator
bomb.
next turn?
If I
Ada
can
6
play
plus
Gnar, I do
1.
have one
Bisa
Brash blocker,
ngedrop
and he can always
Nila
block the Tide
terus
Dancer.
sama
Tide
Master
Dancer does not
Lookout.
grant themselves the Brash keyword.
Ini harus
Terus?
diblokin
Kelpinator is
1-2
gonna be
nggak
really
sih?
wide,
Oh
giving
enggak juga
Ya,
sih.
1-2-nya
Probably
ditumbalin
trying
aja.
to
Enggak,
get
tapi
Gnar
tetap dapat
with
poki
his,
stick kan.
Helen
Poki stick
getting
masih
Tetap
bisa
dapat
ke
poki stick.
Nexus.
Try and level up, have that
Nggak
5 strength
apa-apa,
remain
soalnya
as a
gue yakin
meteor.
ini level up
But it's
Gnarnya
not
nggak
going to
bakalan
be
jadi faktor.
easy for
Di sini
Drizzle to deal
Talpinator
with what
bakalan
Kelpinator's
mikir
gonna
untuk
play
next
as their
turn dia
3
bakal
cards next
ngedrop
turn.
Nila sama
Oke.
Master
I love
Lookout,
sacrificing the
terus
1/2
bakalan
here.
ngedraw
Damage off of
pakai
your Nexus. For
spell yang 4
every
mana
little
Eye of the
damage
Storm.
Talpinator
Itu bakal
saves, that's potentially 1 or 2 more
ngeaktifin
draws of burn
efek
damage
kapalnya. Jadi
that can get him
semua
over the
unit
finish line.
kecuali
Double
kapalnya
burn
bakalan
hail.
dapat plus 2 attack dan
The,
Beras.
Divine Whirlwind, I believe that is in
Eh,
hand.
beras
Getting
ya?
a lot of
Bener ya?
burn.
Beras.
Nila threatening to level up.
Dan yang bisa blocker itu cuma 2.
Drizzle's
Yang
Ya,
2-3
betul.
sama Gnar.
double wall up.
Betul,
Ini
betul.
bakalan damage gede dan bisa di finish pakai Divine Whirlwind itu yang ada available di tangan.
Tapi kayaknya bakal kena stun sih.
Iya, ada yang
Masih
kena
ada Walu.
stun, ada
Nah.
yang kena group shot dan
Telpinator
Poki segala macam.
looked really good last time, but all of these cards are gonna
Level
cost
up
more
nggak
mana.
nih
The
lahirnya?
Eye of the Storm top deck was quite nice, but we already had another
Kayaknya
Eye of the Storm
enggak
in hand.
sih.
Telpinator's probably gonna go for
Kayaknya
another
enggak
mana.
nggak
Look
cukup
out,
mana,
Bento,
nggak cukup
Eye of the
mana.
Storm. That's their 3 cards, get a
Dan
bunch
kalau
of
kata gue
strength,
sih
go in
Talpinator
for the
bakal
Tide
play
Dancer.
Nila
Drizzle
into Master
throwing bottom
Lookout
Drizzle might
into
need to be the play
the
to try and
Eye of the
find
Storm
Brash blockers.
bakal
They
ini.
only really have like 3 pieces of interaction, double wallop and the drop the bomb. Might not be enough
Nah,
against
kita lihat di sini
Telpinator's
drop the
threatening
bomb
with
di
all
combo
of
sama
these
Poki
4
Stick.
strength Brash
Oke,
attacks.
that's a Nilah gone, Nilahnya pergi, tak masalah. Tapi tetap this is a lot of damage.
Being hovered, but Drizoth has plenty of time here to just crunch the numbers and calculate. I can block one thing with Brash.
Oh,
It's better just keep the board
Vikrasnya yang di
narrow.
remove karena memang Drizzle lagi nggak punya elusive blocker.
Ya pasti
Bagus.
dikasih sih.
Just remove bodies instead. I like this decision. Nila is not close
Ini
to leveling
antara
up in this
Talpinator
position
mau
yet.
ngedrop si Master
There's
Lookout-nya
no slipstreams
terus
drawn.
ke Eye of the
So
Storm,
Talpinator doesn't need to
atau
worry, but
Oke.
ini
Storm
Talpinator
could
mikir
change that
buat
very
nge
quickly.
Eye of the Storm sekarang terus
Eye of the
disambung
Storm
sama
being,
Divine
I think
Whirlwind yang
double
bakal
Oke.
terima
updraft
nah
leadership.
gara-gara
We've
di
got
diskon.
one
Tapi
updraft
kita lihat
and
Master
one
Lookout di sini.
achievement from the Janna, making it such that this Eye of the Storm is going to cost 2 less and can come down to remove
Ini
Gnar
di
as
stun?
a Brash blocker or remove the Blimp Pack
Mhm.
Oh
Potion
enggak.
as a Brash blocker.
Ditembak
Able to put in
2
that
ya.
extra damage, get the 1 burn,
Iya, kayaknya.
able to still cycle cards and still have a bunch of options for the future.
Oh.
But we are going to see Crank
Crank hits.
making this Eye of the Storm cost more mana, denying all of the possibility of this Divine Well.
Reset that. Drizoth is maybe so happy, right? I went for the prank just to scope out the hand, see what Talpinator was setting up with updrafts.
Tapi masih bisa dipakai sih si Eye of the
Iya,
Storm
masih
ini.
bisa dipakai.
Dan gue yakin bakal pasti dipakai.
Now Drizoth has a little bit more
Nilainya level up.
confidence on what can be done. And now with the
Apakah
card draw
nilainya
in
level
Eye
up?
of the Storm,
Kalau kata
taking
gua,
all of
enggak ya?
Talpinator's
Kalau seingat
mana,
gue sih
no chance of
baru 12
slipstream
lah,
to flip
belum
the
16.
Tadi sisa.
etc.
Oh
So
ya.
a lot of damage
Belum,
taken
belum.
off the table this turn for Drizoth, fortunately.
Kalau slipstream baru.
How risky
Ya,
was that?
kalau slipstream baru
Not able to
level
play
up
the
ini.
second wallop, spending that very key mana going down to 5 to try and
Ap-
interact with the hand.
Apakah iya? Gue
What a
lupa juga ini.
crazy
Apakah
play.
14 atau
Realizing
13
that
ini
this is
si
how I'm
nilainya?
going to try and win the game. This puts me in the
Okay.
best position. I don't think I would have made this play. I don't think most people would have made this play, but Drizoth was able to.
And Drizoth, as one of our our most
Bakal
seasoned
listen.
competitors And especially as you mentioned, Spids, with this deck,
Oh,
Radiant
13.
13.
Jadi
so
slipstream nggak
far
bakal
before
ini,
it was nerfed,
nggak bakal
probably has
level
so
up.
level up.
much
Soalnya kalau nilahnya level up
experience in
ini,
this
si
matchup
Genarnya
that
dipecut,
he can make that
si
play. I need to go for
2-3-nya
Brain.
dipecut,
It's
nggak
more
ada
about
brush blocker.
scouting what my
Yep.
opponent
Udah
has
langsung menang.
discounted to not get blown out of the water. I wonder if Talpinator should have gone for like the slipstream into another slipstream to flip this Nila. I'm looking now 13 out of 16 is close.
Bahkan
Which is
tidak
also
satu
is in
damage
an
pun
interesting position where
masuk.
They have managed to survive this turn really
Okay.
happily, but this isn't the last attack token. Alpinator and Drizzle
Tapi nggak ada yang mati ya.
doesn't have that thing like the Broadmain or these big cards that are able to deal with things.
Zero mana Poppy Stick.
Mana, and
Drizzle ini bisa dimilih untuk dipakai sekarang atau ditahan sampai turn 8 buat ngaktifin Triplet Rex. Tapi kayaknya untuk ngaktifin Triplet Rex ini Drizzle udah punya drop the bomb itu ready to explode.
Ready to explode, yeah.
Factor for John and Nila that's being shown off right
Tapi
now is
turn 9
when you're
meledaknya.
playing against a deck with tons of cards, you seem to always have more resources and more cards and more threats to develop to the board. Drizzle
Broadmain?
being forced to take all that time off. Now going for
Ya, mati.
Broadmain has to potentially set up to save 2 mana to get this Riptide Rex through with the Perilous Pastry. No healing boon off of the Elder Dragon Origin. Going to take out Nila instead with Broadmain.
Drizzle was struggling to draw in the last game, but has perfectly
Pasti
top decked this
mati.
Broadmain.
Level up pun pasti
Loves
mati.
this card. Able to deal with this Nila,
Oh,
being
with
able to
Tough,
set
so
up for
good.
future turns. Tough is an amazing thing. Impossible to interact with. If you're PNZ and you see a Tough unit, you just have to realize that you're never killing this.
It also keeps him healthy versus a potential leveled up Nila as a brash blocker that will be always there. Every ping now, every chump block from a portal becomes a 1 or 2 mana vengeance from this position. Alpinator so close
Nilainya nggak
yet
turun?
so far to find an end to this tunnel and take
Nila,
this
1 mana.
2-0 over Drizzle, one of the heaviest hitters in the World Championship. These top decks are getting pretty insane though. Another Nila off the top, another strong threat now. And Topinator can just start jumping down versus these little
Ini nilainya bisa dibilang nggak keurus juga loh. Dalam artian untuk Drizzle dari tangan Drizzle nggak ada kartu combo yang bisa ngebuat nilainya mati begitu nilainya di drop. Talpinator bakal ngedrop nilainya sekarang dan bakal langsung open attack next turn. Jadi pecutnya nyala.
Okay. Talpinator is trying to become a champion themselves by drawing them all when they need it.
And instead opts to keep the board wide. Plays Nila on
Masih ada wallop sih dari Drizzle buat stabilisasi tapi tetap aja menyeramkan. Sekarang pertanyaannya adalah apakah Talpinator bisa mainin 3 kartu dalam
dia akhirnya dia bakal damage Nila ya.
Sebenarnya Talpinator ini bisa ngeaktifin efek kapalnya kalau dia slipstream dan langsung masang 2 Divine Whirlwind-nya di stack. Jadi 3 kartu dimainin dan dia bakal ngaktifin kapal dan semua unitnya bakal brash. The only brash blocker yang bisa ngeblock brash itu cuma Lord Broadmain doang. Sisanya bakal connect ke muka. Dan this is a lot of damage. Ada wallop buat stabilisasi tapi apakah itu cukup? Apakah itu cukup?
Kapalnya nggak di-attackin.
Kapalnya di-attack mungkin, tapi kayaknya percuma juga soalnya kapalnya bakal di-blocking.
Yes.
4-3-4. Oke, nilainya bisa lah di wallop. Tapi 4-3-4 itu 11. Dan ada damage lagi, masih ada damage dari Divine Whirlwind-nya 2 kali. 1 tambah 1 itu 11 tambah 1 tambah 1 13 damage.
13 damage dia kalau ngewalup yang 4 nggak mati dong. 9 damage.
Betul. Dan masih ada condense juga buat ngeprinting si apa itu namanya? Lord Broadmain. Dan ingat apa yang kita omongin 2 turn yang lalu. Itu drop the bomb bakal meledak di turn 9. Dan
Drizoth's deck
Tapi ini
Next
tinggal
turn?
cari
two out of
Mystic
six
Shot aja
to
bisa
get a
menang.
heal two on the Nexus
betul.
right now by playing this
Apakah
Broadway. The
bisa
Riptide
dapat
Rex will be
apakah
able to do their plunder
Talpinator
next turn.
bakalan
They don't
drawnya
have to worry
kurang
about targeting
wangi
the
dan
Nexus.
Drisot
If
bakal
this Broadway
nurunin
comes down, they'll
Riptide
get the
Rex
heal
nge-clear
two.
boardnya
Talpinator's gonna be
Talpinator
having to find
dan
more than
attack
just a
tanpa
Mystic Shot
diblokir
per
sama
turn.
sekali. Bakal itu potensial.
Here it comes. What are the decisions? No healing. Drizoth,
No
1
healing.
HP
Ya
in
benar
the
ya, cari
trade.
healing
You
ya.
can see his reaction was really hoping.
Iya.
There's a big difference certainly
Kalau
between
misalnya
1 and
dapat
3
healing
when it
dari
comes to this
Dragon
deck.
Boon yang
If
heal
they heal
Dia
up
bakal
dua itu,
taruh
somehow
si
to the
Pulsyak
Riptide
kayaknya.
Rex,
Oke.
that's an instant
buat draw
KO.
tambahan.
Betul, dan dia
Open
bakal
attack.
taruh yang
Another pull shark being
031, enggak?
woven in
Betul.
for a draw off of
Harusnya
the
buat
top.
biar
Biar
Riptide
ya Riptide
Rex-nya
Rex-nya
semakin mencar.
menyebar.
Telpinator's going to be looking for any mana burn. Even a Divine Whirlwind does it now. But when this Riptide Rex comes down, if the burn is drawn right now, you can put that spell on the stack. There's one
Oh,
last
enggak,
slot
ternyata.
from those 9 slots that can go on. We're going to have to see what the draws are. First one wasn't hit. Second one was... that's the
Blow
burn.
back buat
Riptide Rex is
finishing.
gonna come down,
menang
gets
sudah.
for a heal,
Tapi
gets it.
dapat healnya tapi
Into
udah terlalu
explode.
telat. Heal sebelum healnya nyampe, blowbacknya bakal
Udah,
meledak
blowbacknya
duluan.
bakal meledak duluan,
Dan
betul.
2-0 Talpinator is going to have another
Gila
win.
tuh.
Mantap ini.
Resotnya bete banget mukanya.
Iya.
Anjir.
Telpinator, the only player on Jananilla, one of 2 players on Morgana Ribbon, and those decks showed up, able to deal with the 2 main
Kita
decks in
puji-
this format, being incredibly good.
Gila sih.
What an amazing game for our Swiss match 2.
What a treat
Bisa
to
gitu
see.
draw yang
When you have
ngeri.
these underdog
Ngeri,
lineups,
ngeri,
this is
ngeri.
exactly what we
Itu
were hoping to see.
namanya
We were
drawnya
talking earlier
pro player ya
on
guys
the
ya.
analyst desk
Iya,
of
pemain di
Spades.
World Championship itu
Drizoth
harus kayak
took a
gini
lot of
tuh.
bad
Iya.
luck out of the way early in the
Kalau nggak kayak gitu
tournament.
drawnya
Round two,
nggak masuk world ya.
Mordekaiser all the way on the bottom
Pulang
of the
deh,
stack.
pulang.
Number 1
Iya,
and
iya.
number 2 couldn't really find that healing, was under so much pressure, couldn't just set up the Riptide Rex the way he wanted, and even Nora was just languishing in the hand, a little bit too late to the party to get even more blockers versus Brash.
Just an incredible... It's such a weird matchup, right? I don't think any of those
Nice
with the
game.
stock standard
Ya,
way
seru
that
sih
those
itu.
matchups should play out. You'd expect this more Mordekaiser deck on turn
Apakah
7.
mungkin ada game
regain all
lain
that
yang
tempo,
belum selesai
Betul,
yang bisa kita
yang bisa dilihat.
Same with the Nora Elder Dragon deck. All of
Sedang
these decks play
menunggu.
for low tempo early, get
Karena
high
ini
tempo
nanti
later.
kayak nunggu
But
10
when that
menit
high
lagi
tempo
nih.
doesn't show up later, it just doesn't work. It just falls through to
Oke,
these
kita lihat
aggressive decks that
dulu.
are consistently pressuring.
Yeah, and Talpinator went for maximum pressure, especially in the second game. Pool Shark on 1, held onto that Tide Dancer and leaned on it
Kita lihat
heavily the
Raptera
entire game.
kalah lawan
That threat
Chenia.
was always there, and even got a
Raptera
jump.
kalah
Seemed like whenever he
2-1.
was going to run out of pressure, run out of
Oh,
resources,
Ami
sudah
kalah.
that deck's classic chain of card draw came through to keep him in the game.
Charles itu menang tadi. Aurora.
Telpinator, one of the representatives from EMEA.
Grandpa
Not
Roji
one of the ones
kalah.
that was on most people's highest radar, but
Lawan
showing
Kid with
up
the
Green
Big.
Slime menang loh
2-1.
lawan
doing
AJ.
everything they needed. That pull shark on 1 into the
KDF reroll
lineup,
kalah loh.
getting the card they got back updrafted, one in
KDF
like
reroll
30%
kalah loh.
chance of that happening.
Oh
Being
shit
able to play the
man.
card on turn 5, so they have the
It's
attack
still
token on
anybody's
turn
game.
6 to use
Betul.
it.
Selama kalahnya belum 3, ini lu masih ada di turn ini.
Masih banyak yang belum selesai nih.
Because of
Iya.
the way your discounts come through, you're able to manipulate your draws in your top decks. The game plan is
KDF
very
reroll
fluid,
kalah.
and we can
Green Slime
definitely
menang.
see
Nah,
that
memang
Talpinator
ini ya.
was
Majin B
incredibly
menang lagi
confident in piloting
dong.
the deck. And then
Wih.
on the
Wah,
other side of
gila.
the table, Drizoth going for that key
Majin B
prank
bawa apa aja sih?
to take a look at the hand, to take away some of
Decklist.
those
Majin B,
updraft,
Majin B.
valuing that hand
Elder
information and
Dragon,
denying a
Genar.
little bit of value
Oke.
from his
Nora.
opponent shows that he is
Mordekaiser
very confident
Morgana,
going
Seraphim
against
Set.
that deck.
Oh,
Let's head back
Line-up-nya,
over to the desk now and
menarik.
dive even deeper into this because those players gave us a lot to chew on.
They sure did. Skarzik and Spids, thank you both so much for that match. We got treated to so many different things. I think the one thing that I want to
Lopi
start
Matki
out with here
menang.
is just the
Aikando
lineup.
menang.
You could hear Skarzik and Spids really talk about how
Yang tadi
unique
kalah
of a
dia
lineup
menang.
that Talpinator did bring. And so, Boulevard, I was wondering if you could walk me through some of the strategy behind that deck lineup choice.
Yeah, so Talpinator's one of the more aggressive players in this tournament. The Nyla Janna
Green Slime
not
menang.
going for
Oke.
the Sunken Temple that we've seen throughout the year, instead going for like the Tide Dancer, not going for like the Wizened Helmsman late game.
Udah
Just a
beres ini
much
ternyata
lower
semua
to the
ronde 2.
ground,
Iya,
one
udah
drop
beres,
heavy, very variation of the deck, and then
Oke
the
lah.
Morgana Riven being Riven's really exploded in the last couple of months.
Aragorn kalah lagi loh.
Aggressive combo E deck.
Kalah
thanks
lagi
to a
2-0.
Fire Spitter
Suram
originally
udah.
was playing
Udah
Morgana, and just
chance-nya
saying,
udah
I
kecil
think
banget
this is still
Aragorn
a
buat
strategy
masuk.
that too many players have moved
Bisa
on
ini
from.
kalau dia
You
bisa
don't need
win
to
Kalau
lima
dia
kali
sweep
berturut-turut.
5 ya.
This champion has a
Iya,
different
harus
place
clean
in the
sweep
meta,
ini,
and
reverse.
it is going for the Nexus.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like when you got a chance to see that Morgana and Rivet in action, it led to Drizzoth having to make some really difficult
Anyway, Bang Bento
choices
ini
in that
udah
very first game, Alan.
hari Jumat, gua
Yeah,
harus
definitely.
kayak
I wanted to
tidur duluan
highlight
deh.
the
Siap.
turn 7, especially
Thank
from
you.
the
Thank you
bridge.
banget ya,
Aku
udah
bentar lagi
ini.
juga tidur kayaknya. Thank you. Putra
Masih bisa
Kalsar
sempet lah,
Anjay
berarti
sama Bang Fortu Andy ya. Yoi, betul banget
Yo,
Bang
iya,
Putra.
betul.
Sering
Perdana
lihat
ini
live
gua
di
di-
Twitch. Waduh. Mantap slime win. Deck Elder Dragon yang paling konsisten apa ya Bang?
Kayaknya yang Nora Genar deh,
Nah
kalau
itu,
kata gua.
Nora Genar. Tuh.
Tapi Elder Dragon-nya itu bukan sebagai Elder Dragon win condition.
Betul.
Elder Dragon-nya cuma buat regen-nya doang gitu.
Ya. Buat diambil ininya doang, apa namanya? Originnya doang.
Iya.
Itu biar bisa masukin mana 6 yang banyak. Oke, kayak aku habis ini juga tidur. Ini udah nggak kuat, udah ngantuk. Besok kayaknya mungkin kita nonton sampai jam seginian lagi. Hari Sabtu semoga bisa full ya. Kayak hari Sabtu tuh final tuh kayak nggak mungkin banyak gamenya. Paling cuma 3 kayaknya ya, tapi nggak tahu lagi.
Ya, mudah-mudahan. By the way, Bang Bento, gue duluan ya. Thank you,
Yuk,
thank you.
sip, thank you.
Sama semuanya
Pada
yang
bilang
di-chat.
thank you semua itu.
It ended up being
Thank you,
Talpin
thank you.
that was able to take
Yuk.
down that very first
Kita lihat
stage.
dulu
What
deh
was
ini,
happening in those final moments,
nunggunya
despite the
berapa
fact that
lama.
Drizzoth was making some really difficult choices and correct choices.
All right, so me and Alan were sitting there. We're trying to figure out, all right, is this lethal? Is this lethal? Rune Weaver comes down, gives over the final blade fragment. Okay, there's the +2 attack. Now it's up to either Riven to roll another +2 attack blade.
Ini dia
because
udah
we've
lama
gone through the full
ngomongnya,
cycle,
terus nanti nunggunya
or a
lama
top
lagi.
deck of
Oh
Might or
my
something like
god.
that. Riven rolls another +2 attack blade. It turns out to be exact lethal because of that black shield with like an exact amount of mana. It was like so precise what everything came down to, and a lot of it actually comes off the back of that final Rune Weaver.
Tadi bareng
in
siapa
order to
Bang?
secure
Telat.
that
Wih,
fragment and
tadi
get
bareng
another
sama
combo through,
Fortu
which is, like, an
Andy.
insane
On top of
sequence.
that,
Bang Fortu.
had to not draw
Fortu second.
Hopper to support his vengeance to counter that play.
I love being able to break that down because it felt like such a big finale turn there for Talpinator, but then Talpinator just keeps the hype going, especially when you get into that second game. Alan, that was so exciting.
Oke Bang. Oke.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, this is very hard to do what Talpinator did. Drawing turn 1 a Pool Shark into the updraft cards, but then like, you know what, I don't need it, I'm just gonna draw my boat, which doesn't become fleeting when you draw it off like that. Having this as a backup, as a power play on turn 5, pushing so much damage, this is usually a very good matchup. This should be a good matchup for Drizzoth. But like with this sequence of draws and applying so
Ya kayak
much
ntar lagi aku
pressure,
harus
it's
udahan.
absolutely pivotal for the Talpinator.
I want to reiterate, there's only one boat in this deck. That was the same boat.
Yeah,
That's pretty
updrafting the
awesome.
boat and getting this card, and this coming on turn 5 instead of turn 6, you can see how powerful is this card, because this card barely ever comes on turn 5. Like you need to get this specific
Ya Bang, masih ada
cycle
besok
where
kan?
you updraft
Besok
the
masih
turn
ada.
and you redraw it by turn
Sampai hari
5.
Sabtu ya?
And like you see how powerful this card can be if it costs 1 less mana only.
Well, listen, Talpinator might have had the wind in his sails, but it didn't stop Drizzoth from
Ya, tapi
trying
Talpinator
in that
hoki banget
second
sih.
game. Boulevard, there were moments where it felt like Drizzoth could have brought that back. So what were you identifying there that Drizzoth still had a chance to win that second game?
Drizzoth did a pretty good job of stabilizing with the broad main. We had some concerns about not targeting the boat because the brash keyword is so effective against the board that Drizzoth had there. Instead, he targeted, I believe it was the Nyla with the broad main. So finishing off that champion, but leaving the boat around to give that brash mechanic over to
Aragorn
the
nggak
board
bakal
again
muncul
on the
lagi
following
berarti ya?
turn.
Masih ada
Drizzoth
chance
just didn't
kemungkinan
think that Talpinator would be
kalau
able
dia
to
menang
run out that
5-5
many
game ini
cards
ya.
quickly enough before Drizzoth
Karena
would
kalau
earn
skornya udah
sequence
6-3
back.
nggak,
Maybe thought
kalau
that
skornya
the
udah 4-3
Mars
nggak bisa.
champion spell would be able to delay things a little bit more, maybe draw some more removal, but also didn't really find
5-2 pun
good
yang
time to
kedraw,
rip
yang
Tiger Rex.
masuk
By the time
cuma
that
sedikit ya.
you know, sort of power card eventually came down, Drisoth was a little bit
The
too far
only
gone.
difference he could have made is like set up a Rex on 8 by playing Bomb on 5 on the elusive, which he ended up doing on turn 6 instead, which set up Rex on 9, which would not have ended up mattering because like he like opponent open attack and never had an option to really play a Rex there. But still, on the last turn, he still had the chance to come back, getting some heal from the Rex, but then Talpinator just brutally top-decked the final burn he needed to finish off that result when he was about to stabilize.
We were hearing the casters talk about that, where, you know, Drisoth is going to be getting some of that bad luck out of the way. I think we can give a little bit of credit there to the high roll that we saw from Talpinator to close out that game number 2, but still such a unique way to be able to do it with a lineup like this. So I can't wait to see how far Talpinator is going to go. That does mean that Talpinator is going to be undefeated up to this point, so 2-0 now in Swiss rounds, and Drisoth sadly going to be looking at that 1-1 to go into this next round, but there's still so much more ahead of us. We've got 5 more rounds of Swiss today, so we're going to take a short break to get ready for that Swiss round number 3. Don't go anywhere.
Tumpah guys, minumnya guys. Oke lah, kayak kita udahan sampai di sini aja dulu. Ya, sampai ketemu besok. Tapi nggak tahu deh, besok kita lihat dulu. Kayak besok aku live juga bakal telat. Karena kayaknya besok bakal live sekitar tanggal 11, jam 11-an. Ya, udah ngantuk, kita tunggu besok. Ini kan free roll nih kayaknya. Ini nunggu lagi 10 menit. Oke. Saya tidak kuat. Thank you ya, sudah nemenin Nobar. Besok kita nonton lagi, oke? Thank you semuanya. Dadah.